It's gonna, yeah.
Whoa.
We are live. There it is.
Yes,
There we
are.
go. That is Kevin's birthing moment right there. All right. Everybody, Justin Thomas here, along with Keb from the Bridge4 in Living My Rhapsody. I'm going to call you LMR from now on.
Yes,
That's the
you
only
are.
time I'm going to say it. And I couldn't be happier. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to be talking about that favorite bastard of ours, the one we're going to try to crack or at least put a little bit of a dent in, Jon Snow. Now, this is going to be a pretty open conversation. I took some advice I threw out to my boy, In Deep Geek. When I did our original YouTube Confidential, I asked him how he went about doing his, his content. I said, do you usually do things like that you just really like feel passionate about, or is it more like what you feel you know more about? He's like, well, actually, it's better. This makes so much sense. Maybe this is what people are doing and that why they enjoy it so much more. He's like, I go after, topics that I want to learn about more. And that makes it a better process for everybody to go and not to just regurgitate stuff over and over again, but to, cover topics that you're not completely sold on every aspect of, or you would like to know more about. In Game of Thrones, I think there's no shortage of things that we need to know about and things we could know more about. So I got two wonderful people here with me. I'm so excited to do a live stream, which, not that I don't love my Westworld ones, but it's very stressful, the situation I set up. It's like, we'll do it right after the show. It'll be great. It's not. It's hard. But so you guys want to introduce yourself, let them know where they can find you, and then we will jump in the business. And if you guys want to know anything in the chat, just put it in there. I think we get some mods in there. Thank you, lovely moderators. And we'll get to them all. We'll answer them all. We'll answer them all correctly. Like, we're really good at this. So go ahead and do some shameless plugging, people. Let's start with the virgin live streamer.
No. LMR, you first, please.
If you insist. So I see a lot of friends in the chat, and actually all the friends that mostly friends. So you know where to
Chrissy,
find me. Yeah, everybody's there. So it's everybody probably, Kev.
Yeah, I
also
don't
awesome people. Yeah, so they know where to find me. I'm always doing streams with Johnny Be Crazy on Mondays. I have my channel doing different stuff. On my book, so we're going to be doing couple different things on Living My Rhapsody, and then my other channel, Living Reviews. So probably if one of the mods, they know my stuff, if they want to ever drop the links, if it's okay, at some point you can find me there. And with that, Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Kev. I love life. I love A Song of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin, and I love you too. So let's do this.
All right, yeah, popping the cherry. We're fresh. All right, so Jon Snow obviously fits a lot of the archetypes of characters, a lot of the high fantasy tropes to a large extent, and he also subverts a lot of them, just like everything that George does, and even D&D, get handed down to him. But I think he's a really interesting character because his journey has been complex already, but we have a few monkey wrenches, for lack of a better word. I was doing notes earlier, probably should have wrote down a better word for that, that are going to be thrown into it. And that, one of the big things is prophecy, which has already been injected, but he kind of is playing it cool with that. But we're going to cover it. But his parentage and what this means. What does it mean for a guy that, claims he doesn't want power, which I don't believe he's power hungry, but I will argue later on, or discuss, not argue, that he is ambitious. There's lots of proof throughout the story that Jon is ambitious, and he obviously wants to achieve levels of success in his life like any human being. He's just not a guy that's cool with anything. He strives for success within the Night's Watch right from the very beginning. So I really want to talk about, what does it mean for somebody to get this knowledge? Why is it so pivotal that we're going through the brand 3000, connected up with, research magnifico, Samuel Tarly to get this information for him? What does that change for him? I guess I'm going to open this up to Kevin first. Do you think that this information changes more for Jon or Danny?
Oh, Lord, you do this whole intro about Jon, and then you throw in Danny out of nowhere.
That's how I do it.
Right?
It's very inconsistent.
It's really interesting. They both have grown so much. I got a lot of hate for some of the things I said about Danny in season 7. I saw her go down a little bit of a dark path, but season 7 was very sped up. So I think if something similar happens in the books, it's going to be in a more extended darkness, and then she's going to recover from it. And that's what's beautiful about her, her escape, her swim out of the darkness. Danny Dany's incredible, especially in the books because she's so young, right? And then what I love about Dany the most, to be honest. Sorry, I'm probably talking too long already. My mother raised me on one of the first things I ever watched was Ben-Hur. So I'm from a town called Sparta. So I'm really big into like, I hate slavery. I'm into slaves fighting for freedom. She wasn't a slave. I mean, well, in a way, she was a slave. She was a female, and she was about to be well. She did get sold off. She was going to be sold anyway, but she's ends up fleeing for her life. Then she's sold off to some Khalasar. The guy happens to be jacked and handsome, and in the books, the first time they make love, it's actually really, really cute. It's not rape. It's actually pretty adorable. But I mean, she's this little girl, and then she ends up freeing like thousands and thousands of people from slavery. So that's gnarly. That's pretty much the coolest thing that's ever happened in the entire story so far. Jon, on the other hand, Jon's a weird dude because like in the show, everyone always loved him from the start. In the beginning, even he hated who he was. It doesn't really come across in the show as much. He hated being a bastard or whatever. Mm-hmm. Wait. I'm going to stop, but real quick, before I forget this, the very first line in Jon's very first chapter is, there were times, not a few, not often, something like that. There were times, not often, that I was happy to be a bastard, or that Jon Snow was happy to be a bastard. So this whole concept of him getting legalized at the end, it's complete CRAP. He's not going to get legalized. The dude's going to embrace being a bastard because everything he's accomplished as a bastard. And I get it. He's not actually a bastard, but he is. It's all about perspective. The whole world's looked at him as a bastard, and look where he's gotten as a bastard.
But those are very good points. I do want to say, and this is very sincere, I did not read the books before the show. You know, I don't know if that makes me better or worse, but I read them, you know, I think like halfway through the second season, but I did not care for Jon's story at first. I was like, because I don't like it. This is just my thing against winter in general. And I know it's coming.
Really?
I've heard it's coming. But I really, honestly, like even the scenery and the set design and all that, I'm like, I don't really care for this.
Where would you want to live if you lived in Westeros?
In probably the Reach, you know, like I'd be a flowered knight. A lot of hot women there, though. So, anyways, you know, I really didn't because, you know, I was not expecting. I did no research on this when I was still club DJing. So I was just interested. I was like, okay, so, you know, I was following all the tropes that we're going to talk about, how they set down, because in order to subvert, you must set expectations. And I was like, all right, so this is Ned's not going to make it because it's Sean Bean that does that up. But now, okay, Rob's definitely. Oh, I can't wait for that showdown with Rob and Jamie and all that. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, Jon at the stupid wall again with these monsters, because I also don't like magic that much. So I really didn't. But then, you know, and that's what that made the show be so much more impactful for me. And I think that they do that very well. Even the show did that very well. Is they did make it a little bit, you know, mundane, at least in my opinion. And I think I've read on Reddit. Other people agree with me. Just take my word. But I think that it's interesting because, yeah, there's a lot of dualities between Jon and Dany. I guess the big difference, though, in how the foil works is they almost are exact, you know, clones, but she wants to have power because she feels like she's entitled to it. He takes up on power because it's just what he has to do, and it has been thrust upon him. And I will talk later about the ambition. But do you think that the people of Westeros will take this whole bastard situation and make it make sense for them, even though it might not be in their best self-interest, because they're, you know, plebs in this world, to delegitimize the bastard thing? And say, well, it's because of this prophecy. And that's kind of what this stream is about. What do you think, LMR? Do you think that, you know, I think it's going to be much harder for him. He's going to easily push it away, I believe. But I think it's going to be thrust upon him, not only by others around him, but by just the general population. These people live in a world that they know, not what we know. They don't think, oh, man, we could have capitalism because that's so great. You know what I mean? And all this other stuff. You can't strip them of their monarchy and their feudalistic lifestyle overnight. Do you think that the general population, you know, will buy into this prophecy thing and kind of excuse the bastard stand, position because of it?
You know, actually, I'm thinking in terms of what's gonna happen later on, because we have this thing going on, right? the dead are coming. So are we thinking about it after, or are we thinking about it currently, like right now, as it is happening? Are they going to embrace him now, as it is happening, as a ruler who will lead them through it? Because they need a leader. He knows the most about it. Nobody else knows more about it. So if you want to choose a leader who knows the opponent, he's the one. They have no choice in a way. unless it's the after you're asking about, then it's kind of iffy because he always says no to stuff. Like he will say no, I don't want this. I want to be brooding. I want to. I have nothing against him. I love him, in general. But
in general,
yeah, in general,
I love
no.
everything about him.
I
Yeah.
think, the
Yeah.
George Washington, and I'll let you continue, but you're
Yeah.
speaking about what I wanted to talk about is that he has the George Washington complex, what I call it.
Mhm.
George Washington showed up to all those colonial meetings before the
Yeah.
actual revolution in his only one that dressed in his military uniform throughout the whole thing, all the sessions. And then when it came time to pick a military guy, they were like, they went to the tallest guy that had been wearing a military uniform. Nobody else had ever worn one. And then he acted surprised. He was like, "Oh, shucks, me?" They're like, "Well, yeah, wasn't that your whole shtick?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it is kind of like that, "Oh, shucks, I guess I'll take it." Jon shows clear signs of being very ambitious when he first gets to the Night's Watch. So I think that he's not, it's unrealistic, you know, and George does write pretty decent characters. So, you know, everybody has ambition, doesn't make.
But what do you mean by ambition? Like what Jon wanted to be, Jon was sort of brainwashed into this, I guess, I don't know what the word is for, you know, like when males want to be males, like he wanted to be a ranger. I mean, that's what every boy wants to be. We want to be badass. We want to be rangers. And he was kind of upset that he'd be a steward, but a steward's a man of the people. You got to learn everything. He was sort of blinded by, I mean, he was blinded by a lot of things. Jon was blinded by the fact that just because he's a bastard, that's not a problem. Like he judged himself, but that's okay. Like you judge yourself, fine. But he was judging other people. Like when he got there, he was kicking the crap out of a lot of people in the sparring the first couple of times. And then in the show, I think it might be Tyrion. In the books, it's I think it's the dude who I think it's like the one-armed dude, but maybe the Smith from Dragonstone or Storm's End. Yeah, the dude who took out the giant or whatever. And he's like, Jon, or excuse me, Jon, dude, you're kicking the crap out of them. Like these dudes haven't even held a sword, and they're let alone had some training from a master weapons at arms. So Jon was basically like, he started out the story, he was a bully, and he quickly learns that. That's the best thing about Jon is that he learns and he changes, and everyone needs to change this story, and a lot of people do. They change for the better or the worse. But Jon, like he changes, and one of the first things he does after changing is that he sees, well, Sam comes after him, and the people are picking on Sam, and he's like, no, this is not happening on my watch. And he threatens and he saves Sam because basically they were being bullied. They were doing to Sam what he was doing to everyone else. That kind of doesn't really get highlighted in the show, though, that Jon was a bully when he showed up. The show, he's pretty much like good boy the whole time. You know what I mean? He's sad, but he's a good guy. He was kicking the crap out of like kids who didn't know how to fight. That's pretty shitty. Ooh, excuse me. Pretty crappy.
You don't need this is my channel. We say that shit all the fucking time, brother. And it's the show. I mean, because these are the glory days of the show, so they did a pretty decent job. They did Tyrion had his moment. You know what I mean? But you know, I agree. I mean, obviously, let's just put it out of the way, people. The books are far more fleshed out than the show. Spoiler. But it's just something that happens. I think it's, you know, Jon is somebody that, yes, he's brooding. Yes, he's somebody that has a lot of contempt for people. You know, he feels like he's utilized. He feels like he's being overlooked because he has been overlooked to a point for his whole life. But, you know, this again comes with like, it's just the perfect mix because him being overlooked is what kept him alive. And him.
Can I ask you something? So when you because your question was about, it just came back to me. I rambled. You said he was he was aspiring to be so high or whatever. And in my eyes, he wasn't really aspiring to do anything except like something personal. He wanted to be a ranger, right? So do you think that his aspirations have changed over time? Because wasn't his initial aspirations were about himself. Like, I just want to be a badass dude. I want to be a ranger. And then now look where he is. Like, he doesn't think about himself at all anymore.
Well, yeah. And I think that's something we'll get to a little bit later down. Awesome. It's because, no, you're fine. It's not. It's you're absolutely correct. I think in my interpretation of that is that he doesn't think about himself as much anymore because he's kind of, you know, passed on and came back and realizes he feels hopeless. We talked about this off air, you know, about, you know, we look at this godlike status, you know, oh, they became a god. It's like, well, the gods that we've seen, you know, like Bloodraven and others, you know, they are grotesque. Even Melisandre, the ones that have these supernatural powers that, you know, I think we look at it as like, oh, you'll become a god and you'll get super strength. It's like, no, you're going to be like bound into a tree. living with, you know, Bran for a while, who's raping Hodor's mind. So yeah, it's not always ideal. Nothing is always great, but I think that he went there, you're right, and he expected to be amongst like noble people, whether they were, you know, of noble blood. And so, but so the first jump is, well, I'm better than, because he's like, oh, that was a letdown because they're rapists in this, or, you know, they turned out to be less horrible, but you know, he wasn't happy with his company. So he thought, well, if I can't be, these aren't my peers, I guess he felt, you know, so I might as well jump myself up to, you know, Ranger to give myself a little bit of status because I deserve it. But it's like, no, you're really no better than them, whether you can swing the sword or not.
Who said that?
Shocker, and that was a big shocker to him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he needed it. You know, I think that, again, it's all about the complex character, because Jon is your reluctant hero. He is your ace, even to a point, because he seems to be good at almost everything he does. He's a master negotiator. He has politic in him, but he's also jealous. He's also petty. He's also, you know, got a temper. He's also very moody. So, you know, he's just more of a realistic person. Yeah, he's like, well, these aren't my peers, so I definitely should be in charge of them. And then they're like, no. And nobody said that just because you can swing a sword better, that's just my metaphor or whatever. You know, just because your sword arm is better, your job is to make them better. You know, you got to earn your way here.
And Kevin, your question, you said who said it, right? Do you remember who said it, Justin, in the chat?
I think it was Gior Mormon.
Sure.
I think so. It was like, dude, right?
He tells him when they leave Craster's, he tells Jon, he says, what are you doing? And he's like, I was just sitting in there with you with that weird rapist guy. He's like, no, I know. He's like, what were you doing? He's like, you need to learn how to follow, all jokes aside, before you
that's a good conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the conversation Jor has with him. He's like, you need to learn how to follow. Do you want to lead? You need to learn how to follow. And like Samuel Tarly says, when he's putting his boy up for election, he's like, you know, Mormont put him as a steward because he was grooming him. So it's just about adapting the situations. And we see this with the Starks as a whole. They all leave in. I think that there's something to be said for Ned's, I'll just say, stupidity or ignorance to what was in front of him. But staying honorable like he did to the end, even though it just meant his utter demise, it really stuck like a rock. Especially Jon says it beautifully in one of the later episodes, which I'm not a huge fan of. He says, when you start, you know, just using words and not living up to them, words don't mean anything. You know, when enough people, I didn't do it service. He was like, when you start speaking words and they don't, but he said it in a good way. People watch the show.
Words stop meaning something.
Yeah, but that's beautiful. But like, you got to think about it. So no sacrifices for nothing. But then again, what is it all for if there's nothing after? But, you know, he put in them that honor like a rock, but he also gave them a pretty hard life lesson that they couldn't be like him. Sansa learns from Littlefinger and Cersei. Arya, they all lose themselves to a point, but they all stay Starks to a point too. And the Stark, like, the genetic makeup of them is so strong that I think that that's why it's so important. And I don't think Rhaegar foresaw this as far as prophecy goes. I think he was just trying to get 3 kids for the heads. But, you know, the embodiment of the Stark culture, like he even says at the Theon, he says, you're also a Stark, you know? So I think that was really foreshadowing, you know, as it was heavy-handed because it was a show for how he's gonna look at it. You know, he's like, no, you were a Stark. You know, it doesn't matter what this is. That's probably still how he's gonna feel when he's a Targaryen, because there has to be the best of both worlds. And then talk about rambling. I ramble all the time. You go ahead, Kevin. But I mean, what do you guys think about let's have you just break down the first prophecy, Azor Ahai, and exactly for those of you that don't know. And spoiler, you know, for the books, he could just be a dead guy that never wakes up. He's still technically dead.
Wait, quick question. What is a pleb? Is it PLEB? Pleb?
I guess. Yeah, a pleb is like
pleb. What is a pleb?
Yeah, I did. A pleb is it's a commoner. It's a, you know, it's like
really?
It's not a great word to use for them. Now you're making
it sounded like a just.
Well, yeah, it's a very, very you know, just offensive word to objectify people and to make them feel lower about their pleb asses. So yeah, no, they cut my fucking lawn. That's what plebs do.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're not current. We're good. I can lose that demographic.
So Azor Ahai. All right, so here's one of the quotes, Azor Ahai. There'll come a day after a long night when the stars bleed and the cold breath of the darkness falls heavy on the world. In this dread hour, a warrior shall draw from the fire a burning sword, and that sword shall be called Lightbringer. Melisandre's saying this. I remember the scene. The red sword of heroes, and he who clasped it shall be Azor Ahai, come again, and the darkness shall flee before him. All right, so it's a prophecy about a hero that saves the day, and he's got this fiery sword, and since we have these enemies or these so-called others, these enemies that are made of ice, people would assume that Azor Ahai is someone running around with a fiery sword killing ice people. It's not at all what's happening. You guys take it away from here. That's not at all what's going on, though.
For LMR. Well, yeah, and that's the good thing about even the show does this. We get our heavy-handed red herrings with Stannis, who he's literally running around. And first off, I will full disclosure. If I was George, and I would be happy with this as far as the books go, if you're not going to finish them, just write 2 chapters. The chapters is he beats the Freys, he takes Winterfell, and then he gets the throne because it's his fucking throne, and the books. Perfect. Don't do any of this other stuff. The White Walkers come, you just correct their grammar. Want to know why the White Walkers don't talk? Because they've talked to Stannis and they know how much of a grammar freak he is, and he makes them feel low. That's why they don't speak, because Stannis fucking put them in their place right away. They're like, there's a lot to be a lot less of you. He's like, fewer. And they're like, oh shit, go back. Stannis, make him. I would be put down the books. I'll be like, thank you, George. Good job. But no, yeah, Stannis is running around like a maniac. They right away they show a maester who is trying to, kill Melisandre in the show, at least.
Maester Creston.
Yeah.
I loved him.
So that's something else that we want, because what we want to talk about too, like, and I want to know your guys' opinions, is where I'm really trying to draw the line is where does like prophecy and magic merge? Where does the religion and the magic merge with this? Like, and what we're supposed to take. Because I think there's a certain aspect of it, well, a lot of it, that George just wants us to leave up to ourselves, which I think is rewarding. Not even being sarcastic. I think it's a great way to, leave some of these things, but there's some things that we won't get explained. He's said flat out that we will never see a god and stuff like that. So, we see her drink the poison and survive it. We don't know why. It's not explained why. We don't know, the extent of these powers, or if it's magic, or if her religion is the one religion. And I think that's kind of what he wants us to question. But we see the red herrings. He's literally walking around with the burning sword. He's proclaiming all this crazy stuff. He's totally, going against all of the people that were, the small amount that were following him, their wishes. And we see that. So we see the prophecy shown not only in a silly way, and we kind of figure, okay, it's not him, but we kind of almost see it right away, especially for a first-time viewer, as something that might not be real, right? Because it's being displayed in a pretty crazy way.
What was that last word? Sorry, I started typing for the first time ever. I can't do 2 things at once. Something's not real? Prophecy not real? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the prophecy is questioned by everybody that's literally.
We were talking about this. Elmar, you go. You haven't talked in a while. I want to hear your voice.
No, you're funny, especially now that I'm getting over the flu. This is not how I talk. My voice is even more annoying than this, probably. Anyway, so I'm good.
Your voice is great.
So before I go, I wanted to just mention, because I got a text, not a text, whatever, one of the media from Patrick Cudmore. He says that it was Dolan Noyes who told Jon about not being better than his.
Donald Noy.
Yeah, so I don't know if you mentioned that, because I heard a different name. I wanted to just make sure, because I got it. I listened to.
You got it. That's him. I couldn't think of his name. He's cool.
So as far as the whole prophecy, and I've been thinking about it for a while, because all the different opinions, and that's what I do. I listen to people and make my own opinion on it. That's the best way to go, I think. So my thought was, okay, that prophecy is really old. It's not like 200 years. I mean, if we think about it like currently, okay, we live not right now. If we think about 200 years back, okay, I get it. If we think 300, 400, 500, if we think 1,000 years, like, okay, it's iffy. Like, how good is that history? If we think 2000, how old is that thing, especially in the book versus the show? That thing is old as heck. And stories, if it's more than, let's say, something that happened 2,000 years ago, it's a story, it's a myth, it's a religion. What is it? We don't know. So we can make stuff up.
So you think that, well, obviously, yeah, I mean, that happens. I think it might have happened. I'm not saying any religions were made up. I'm just saying they could have been.
I don't know.
Yeah. We keep it secular here. But it's weird that you say that as a writer, because I feel that stories age like wine. The older a story, the more relevant. Look at the last person that came back and claimed he was Christ. We blew him up in Texas. You know what I mean? We're like, fuck that.
I have no idea. I have no
Waco.
clue.
No, yeah.
What are you talking about?
Nobody's bringing that up. Nobody even questioned it. They're like, no, he's a wacko. But no, we have a story from a long time ago. It gives it a little bit of power. And there's interesting aspects that I want to talk about too, that it's ingrained. I think it's important. All cultures have myth and lore, and even the States, for being 200 years old, we have folklore. Johnny Appleseed, it's embedded in our DNA, and these stories are embedded. Even with the Garden of Eden and the snake, and all of the biblical references to snakes and Judeo-Christianity, you know, all those religions that focused around Christian beliefs, you know, usually don't portray snakes in great ways. And it's actually proven that our eyesight has actually advanced over generations of 2,000 years, even more, to be able to view them better. So it's built into us. So saying these things over and over again has a certain effect on people, not only mentally, but it's proven biologically. It doesn't make them any more true, but it makes them
it's
just
powerful.
as impactful.
It is powerful. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that. The stories grow and they build, and the faith is there, like for them, and that and the books and on the show. So just because it happened a long time ago doesn't make it any less real for them. So even it's even bigger for them because they grow. It's like a game of telephone. Sometimes you add on to it, you add on to his stories, and memories are faulty. So to me, I don't take it literally. I don't. But if it were to be true, if it's literal, heck, it's entertainment. I'm not gonna say no to it. But I think it's just, that's my opinion on it. Go ahead, Kevin and Justin.
Yeah, I think that it's just all about the power of the story, and people realize how powerful they are. So it doesn't need to be true for it to be impactful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think you should read any Bible literal. It does not going to go. And Judeo-Christianity, thank you. Yeah, I'm on, online, so I'm not going to say anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't know much about religion, so I can't say.
Well, I definitely know what Judeo-Christianity is, but not when I'm online. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting in with the religions in going from the old gods to the new to Relore, which that's where I feel like it's like, is Jon staying true to the old gods? Because it seems like in the books that the after Catelyn's brought back, in that magnificent form, she is brought back, and it's an understanding between them from what I know, that she is still like a member of the Seven, that she's a follower of the Seven. It's like she's not switching. We see no instances of these people that have been brought back switching to the religion that brought them back, which I find interesting. But I think that the old ways, there's something to be said for just saying something's old, because it just makes it more substantial for some reason. Kevin, do you think that these tales from the North and these warnings that they're heeding throughout the whole series, but yet the White Walkers are coming, but in reality, do you think that even the Starks were thinking about the White? I mean, clearly, I think Ned was just worried about wildlings, right?
I'll get to that, but can I take a step back for a second? Just prophecy in general, is it reliable was the question. And Elmore said it, like, you can't take it literal. 100% you can't take it literal, but a lot of people often say that prophecy is not reliable. It's 100% reliable. It's just very hard to interpret. When you look in the past, whether it's through the rearwood.net, it's very clear. You can see what's happening. When you look in the future, it's very clear in the books that when they're having future visions, like Melisandre calls it, through whether it's through fire or even through the trees, it's shadows. You're seeing, and metaphors like Jojen Reed. Jojen Reed, it's a little different in the show. In the show, Bran has a vision of Theon, or water coming over the walls, and like, in the books, it's Jojen. Jojen has a vision of water coming over the walls of Winterfell. That's the Ironborn, because they're from the sea. And then Jojen also has a vision. This is very important. I'll probably get into a part 2 of Bran video, but he has a vision of a winged wolf chained down in Winterfell. That's Bran Stark. Basically, he's just like, he's there. He's got a bigger purpose, but he's a winged wolf. Someone's going to fly. He's going to have green sight, chained down in Winterfell. So Jojen in the books goes there to help free him. So he tells him the story. Jojen tells him the story about the water coming over, and Bran blows it off. He doesn't believe in it at the time. Then it happens, and Bran's like, uh-oh, this guy might be onto something. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. But wait, real quick, just while it's on my mind, everyone always says Jojen's a green seer. I don't think he's a green seer. And actually, this might tie into what you're getting at with like religion and magic and stuff. Jojen literally tells Bran that he's not a green seer. He's like, because think about it. 1 out of 1,000 people are wargs. You can work into animals, wolves or other animals. And then 1 out of 1,000 wargs are green seers. So you have to be, according to that logic, you would have to be a warg to be a green seer. Jojen's not a warg, right? There's no evidence of him being a warg, right? Am I mistaken?
Jojen? You mean Jojen?
No, Jojen. He has green dreams. He's never. We have no evidence of him warging an animal, so it's not like he was a warg and he's one of the 1,000 wargs that's a green seer. So this is what ties into when we were speaking before the chat about like magic versus religion. I think every piece of magic is blood magic. It's all about life. Like Melisandre burns people, her ruby burns her. I think she's absorbing their life fire. Like their life is magic, right? She's stealing their lives and then she's living off of their lives. Like something like Shireen probably died to raise Jon Snow. Like sucks. Miss you, Shireen, but like John's cool. But like Jojen is a little different in the books and the show, but in both places, like I think pretty much most people think he dies in the books. They think Bran eats him. And in the show, he gets really sick. He ends up getting stabbed by one of those whites, I think, right? Yeah. Oh,
that was brutal. That was brutal. Like how many times did you just stab? Oh.
But wasn't he was already getting sick on the way up there, right? In the show? And I think that's because he's not a green seer. The three-eyed crow or the three-eyed raven in the show was sending him green dreams, and it came at the expense of his own life fire. He was dying because he's just a normal human without green sight having green dreams. So it's blood magic. The dude is like
there was a price.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's this whole idea, and that's what we come out with the golden meme, you know, with everything being in balance, is we all think it's a nice thing to say that the world, you know, will all come into balance, but in whose lifetime, you know, because for all the, it's like, oh, it'll work out because the good will always balance it up, but it's like maybe not in your lifetime. And it does definitely hint to these people, you know, being sacrificed. You know, it's kind of random, but it does seem like, yeah, there has to be this balance to it. Just like, because it's fire and ice. It's, you know, everything. There is no pure evil, and there is no like really pure, you know, good in this world, at least. And you know, it's clearly stated within, especially like when you're talking about fire and blood with the Targaryens, or at least fire and you're talking about fire in the magic behind it. It's funny because it sustains life, but it also can take life. In blood sustains life, you know, but the loss of it takes life. And they try to strengthen their bonds, you know, by going, that's what I want to get into, is can prophecy be used for only good, or is, you know, what's the negative of this? You know, some would argue it's to have hope for the common folk and stuff like that, because it always seems like the higher classes don't buy into it as much, you know, because they're more desensitized because they see how much people are they're up above them, so they're influencing them all the time, so they've told them bullshit and they've listened, unfortunately, you know. So they kind of don't put too much backing behind it. But there's all these situations where it's this delicate balance where people end up screwing themselves this time and time in Thrones. Like, you know, the Targaryens want to strengthen their bonds with the dragons, so they have a bunch of incest because the blood is what allows them to control it. But that makes them mad. So that makes them so they're not stable and they can't actually control anything, much less, you know, because they can't control themselves. So it's always this 22 and the lack of being able to compromise. You know, as much as we like to say how dumb Ned was, as far as the Starks, you know, being so honorable and that's what gets them killed, his lack of respect for those who are honorable is what gets him killed, because he thinks he's going with the trope. He's like, well, anybody that's honorable is an idiot, and he's feeding off that. And in a time when he should be thriving, what's more chaotic than the time we're in? If chaos is a ladder, he's in a fucking super jetpack escalator or elevator right now. He's like,
he actually, you know what I mean? His problem is that, I mean, one of his problems is that he's not flexible. He cannot, not that he's not flexible. He's
no, you're totally right.
Yeah, people need to adapt. Like we were just on the other stream. There were so many cool streams today. Anyway, we were talking about stuff. So he's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being honorable, because what else is there at the end, right? But you got to learn to adapt. Like if you are able to live in the north, that's fine. That's good, because you can survive the cold and all that stuff. But in order to survive that, I'm telling you, in order to survive the thing, you have to be able to put your coat away, put on some, you know, short shorts and go to the beach and be fine there too. That's called being adaptive or adaptable to situations. That's how you survive the thing, you know.
Do you remember?
He's not.
Do you remember? This is what really gets me with Ned. I love Ned. Everyone loves Ned, but he varies. Do I say Varys wrong? People always comment that tell me I say his name Varys or Varys.
It's good. It's all good.
I'm going with Varys, like two E's.
Yeah,
like Varys. he had to go to Ned twice to be like, dude, you've got to think about when he was in the dungeons. He's like, dude, Sansa's here. Like, you got to stop thinking about your freaking honor. Your daughter's here. He had to go to Ned twice to get Ned to be like, oh yeah. Because Ned was so stuck. Like, it's cool as hell. Like, Ned's stuck on his honor. But my man, that's your daughter. She's there. She's in the lion's den. You know what I mean? Wait.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, that was something I was actually thinking about the other night, and how I justified it by he was going to the wall, but he didn't. That you just reminded me that wasn't the deal at first, and ended up not being a deal. Spoiler. But it's this idea of there's these bigger, badder things, which maybe is something we still need to be aware of, and I think they're kind of doing this with Cersei. You know, that's their thing. Oh, there's way worse things out there. Well, there's still what's right in front of you. You know what I mean? And that's what they've learned to do. You know, they've all lost a little bit of themselves but gain. And that's why I think it's important to talk about the Starks versus Targaryens and the dualities with them in their stories to really figure out how this prophecy can come to fruition. But it's only because of, you know, a lot of circumstances that, you know, the person that was trying to get it in the motion didn't probably foresee or want. As far as George R. R. Martin on prophecy, there's a analogy that he uses that prophecy, you know, he says a knight is told at a young age by probably some weird witch in a swamp. I didn't read the whole thing. You know, he's like, you know, some weird ditch in a swamp. Who you go to for advice? You know, I told him that he was going to die in a castle or whatever.
Wait, who's this? Who are you talking about?
George's analogy. He says, you know, this about prophecy. He was asked in an interview. He said that this knight was told at a young age that he'll die in a castle. So he stays his whole life a night away from a castle, you know, pretty much not living. And he ends up dying, dropping dead of like alcoholism outside a tavern that's called, anybody guess? The Castle. So prophecy works in strange ways, and it dictates your life, and it can make you not live the life you want to live. And I think that's a really interesting way for him to look at it. It's a really interesting way for him to put it into play, because it's how much validity do you give to a prophecy? I guess the question is, if it's so heavy-handedly pushed through. I think a YouTuber once said this very well. If somebody tells me I go and buy Cheerios today, and I go to the store and buy fucking Cheerios, that doesn't mean that he's, you know, a god or, you know, somebody that can see into the future. I chose to go get Cheerios. I mean, Rhaegar. No, I hate Cheerios. I get Pop-Tarts.
No, I'm saying, did you, or did he magically make you go get your Cheerios?
But, you know, I think that there's these beliefs, and I think that there's this, it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, because prophecies usually lay around, you know, good things, except for Nostradamus and all that. But, you know, somebody that's going to save somebody and stuff like that. So they're very useful for society. But for them to be caught up in it, I think could take away from the values of Jon. You know, Jon is going to be dictated, I think, more by the people. It obviously will have a lot to do with Dany, but how is Dany going to relate to this? And for this to be such a big point now, and I know you just did a video on this, Kev, you were just talking about how, you know, that it wasn't a lie. The rebellion wasn't a lie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was. So this, right? So this actually made me have a revelation today. Not when I was writing the video or editing it. So in my head afterwards, I didn't say this in the video. I actually took it out. I had made that video a week ago, and I was just kind of like really ranting about some Tool comment that came up. I ended up redoing the whole video, and I took out a piece where I was like, plus, you also have to kind of forgive Rhaegar, because part of him, like, he was seeking out prophecy, trying to save the world. And I use that as an excuse for what he did. I ended up taking out of the video that I ended up remaking. But this is what I realized today. So there's, you know, it took 3 times to forge that sword. All right, so take a step back. I think Rhaegar was Azor Ahai, right? Rhaegar's Azor Ahai, Lyanna's Nissa. They fell in love. They had a magic song, love, and they created Lightbringer. It's a human, Jon, the fiery sword. Yeah, we're there. But what I just realized today is that he wasn't searching out prophecy when he hit up Lyanna. She was just badass. She defended a guy at the tourney of Harrenhal. He fell in love. So he was searching for prophecy his whole life, and it actually came to fruition when he wasn't thinking about it, when he was just rocking out with life, because she was awesome and he fell in love. So that's no longer an excuse for him to have done what they did in Elope, but it makes the prophecy a lot cooler, is that at the point he actually achieved the prophecy and created Lightbringer, he was just embracing the best part about life.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a very beautiful way. And I just want to say, God, you're romantic. Hey, that's a beautiful way to tell a story. And I think that's maybe a good point here is it's all about how you tell the story. Because I think that since it's, you know, real life, that it's both. That he was definitely, because he could not have, Elia couldn't have any more children. And he was seeking somebody else out. She definitely was somebody he cared about, probably. But it does make it a little bit better if it was a romance, but I can't believe somebody that dedicated their whole life to prophecy and fulfilling it would definitely forget about it completely. But it is a beautiful take on it.
I'll play devil's advocate to that. I'm surprised it took me a couple weeks to step into the shoes I stepped in today. When I reread, when I was doing the brand chapters, I reread those a million times. That's probably over a month ago. But if you go through that chapter, I think it's like Storm of Swords, brand 6 or 7 or something like that. And there's like, you know, a 2.5 page thing about the tourney of Harrenhal. And I was just sitting there and I was thinking like, oh my God, if I knew that a girl did what she did, like and she's gorgeous too. You know, she's this hot, stark girl or whatever. Like Arya's not ugly. Arya looks like her supposedly, but it's like this Lyanna is just, she's hot. And then she's noble, she's brave, and she's bad. She did it. Like she accomplished. She didn't just say like, "Oh, I'm gonna stick up for this guy." She did, and she kicked the crap out of 3 squires. She kicked the crap out of them. Then she unhorsed 3 knights like a girl. That's like, how do you not fall head over heels in love and forget everything? You know, she's pretty much the coolest girl ever.
I think the Knight of the Laughing Tree was Littlefinger, but just
wait, what?
Littlefinger.
You think he was?
No, I'm joking. No.
Oh my God.
I knew I'm gonna fall for that one, but I have to add from a perspective of people, because we're looking at, and this is what I keep telling about the books. One of the reasons why we love them so much, because we see them as people. They're not just characters that he created that are completely unbelievable, meaning that you cannot believe in them being real. He made them real with all the, you know, flaws and all the good things. And what is, you know, just because Rhaegar did what he did, I'm not excusing him, but I completely get him too as a person, like as a romantic. Like if you read a story like that, it is tragic and it is romantic as heck, but tragic as well. You don't know which one is which. You don't know which one it is more. But it is what's making it real. And to some people, I'm sure to some people, relatable, because life is not simple. Life is never simple. And the books show it. And the books and the show, obviously, they show it. And that's why I love it. That's why I'm so into it, because it is what it is. It's not this black-white. It is that gray area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gray area. Shout out gray area.
Yeah, gray area. I didn't. Yeah.
Rhaegar fought valiantly. He fought nobly. Rhaegar died. So, you know, it doesn't always end with you getting that redhead to wake you back up. So, you know, there's these stories of doing everything that it's all this, you know, narrative about what's happening with Jon, but we're seeing, because again, history repeats itself, but, you know, that could be taken as a, you know, dialogue on what's happening with Jon as well. You know, like fought nobly, fought valiantly, but he died. So this doesn't always work out that you get brought back. You know, so if you're rolling the prophecy dice game, which I only do on Wednesdays now, because I go to you know, meetings in church basements for my gambling addiction. But yeah, you know, it's very of course, George, it's easier for him to write, and it's not taking anything away. He did high fantasy backdrop, and then he puts people that are relatable. And it's far easier to say somebody's relatable when we see them, yes, as a knight and all that. But yes, he does a brilliant job with it. And I think it's an excellent mix of the tropes. But everybody always wonders, because he's like, is Jon our hero? He's definitely our hero, but is he going to be? Because I guess if you're just going to make this tropey, you know, he would win against the White Walkers in a boss fight, which will happen probably in the show for sure. It'll probably say boss fight and it'll go. And they will have the kingdom go, and he'll make changes, and him and Dany will co-rule, and then they'll have their spawn their child. I call it spawn. I don't have kids. I'm not that attached. I'm very detached.
Do you think they're gonna have one or multiple?
Let's get
triplets.
Yeah. 3 heads of the dragon, and it can carry on, and then they can be crazy people. But yeah, so I think that would be the way it would go. And then those children, they'd be like, and then ever since then, they ruled the kingdom in peace. Now,
especially in that voice, I love it. By the way,
yeah,
very storytelling. Yeah,
Jon banged his aunt, and everything was pretty fucking okay.
And that's not for children. Let's switch to a different story, right?
Yeah, well, you know, and it's interesting too, because you know, every house has these words. It's empowerment through myth, right? Every house except for the Starks, their weather report, and they're like, things ain't so good. Winter's coming. But every other house, is all about empowerment and myth. But even, I know it's not the Lannisters' words, but even what they use, we always pay our debts. To me, that's like, okay, you always pay up, but why are you always having to pay debts? Are you always getting yourself jammed up? You know what I mean? Like, I don't always have to pay debts because I don't pay people back. Because again, I'm a bad person. But you know what I'm saying? In all reality, so it's all these mixing of people, like Tyrion being frustrated with Jon. And we are talking about Jon people. We have to talk about the people that's around Jon to figure out what's going on, Jon, because I really think that all this stuff that's going to get thrown on him, he's going to be like, I don't want to do anything with it. I died. And again, if I die, don't bring me back. And we're bringing you back. But like, it's going to be dictated by, it's not so easy in a feudal society. Because this is a dialogue on the actual culture in the oppression of people. So it's important to take a look at how they're going to end this. We can't really go overnight to a whole freaking democracy overnight, or
no,
anything.
definitely not.
You know what I mean? So it's going to have to be easy because people, they don't know anything else. You can't take that. They think they need their king, in this case, it might be true, but I mean, how do you think they're going to subvert that? How do you think that he's going to be pressured? Because Jon, he took the King of the North, and he said that he never asked for it, which I thought was kind of a weird thing. He's like, and I never asked for it. We're like, we know, dude. Thank you. He's like, but I love the North is where I'm from, But in this time of turmoil, he is the right person for the job, but he's also kind of the right person for the job in general. Is it worth taking that away just to subvert this final edge of the trope? Dany has always lived with this thought of she should be in power.
Wait, because you said that twice now. She didn't. The very beginning of the story, this is what makes her story so tragically beautiful, is that all she wanted was the house with the red door and the lemon tree out back. She was brainwashed. She was brainwashed into thinking that it was her right for this throne. And that made me so sad. So you have this, like, it's two sort of paths. On one hand, she's doing what I love more than anything in any story, which is someone freeing slaves. And then on the other hand, she's starting to feel self-entitled to this throne, which is no one's God-given right. It's not. It really isn't. You know what I mean? And so that was so sad seeing her go down that path, which is where she was in the beginning of season 7. And now she's back off that path because she's in love and she's embracing life again. It's like, who cares about a seat? Like, let's fight for our friends and family. Let's fight for strangers. Let's fight for life. And that's cool as hell. But she didn't. No, you are for the most part right. But in the very beginning, at least the first chapter, no, it actually extends many chapters. She's thinking about that house with the red door. She got brainwashed. That's sad.
No, absolutely. You're right. She is actually looking forward to marrying, Viserys.
Oh, I know. It's so weird.
So yeah, no, you're right. And then she does get some empowerment, and then she kind of has it taken away again, but then she adapts and turns it in her favor. And I think what's really interesting about, the Targaryens is the ones that have the dragons kill a lot less people than the ones that do. Like, taking a dragon away from a Targaryen is a recipe for disaster, So when they have this power, they don't feel as vulnerable. And she, I think, is finally coming around in the show to hone that power, because Jon is kind of showing her the way. But again, it's kind of all on Jon. That's where I fall. That's where I'm in limbo here, because it's like, shouldn't he just be the leader?
No, I would be careful, because I think I can mispronounce things. I love, I'm a dude's dude, so I sort of gravitate towards all the dudes. But Jon didn't, so I misword things with Dany a lot. Like, Jon didn't show her the way. She loves him just like he loves her, and she's making choices because she loves him. You know what I mean? And she's sacrificing her own life. And at the end of the day, let's say Jon is in a one-on-one with the Night King. Jon wouldn't be alive if she hadn't freaking flown up there and kicked some butt. You know what I mean? She made that choice herself. It wasn't because Jon influenced her. So,
but Jon did take her in the cave before, is what I'm saying. And okay, guys, we're working off the show here. So let me remind you, everything I'm showing is very significant, is what they thought was very significant when they wrote it, which looked like 2 weeks of time and didn't justify the attachment. But that's what we're working with. So, I think there was a clear narrative, at least from my perspective, of him showing her the way about how they at least he had to, talk her around a little bit to being able to collaborate. That he shows her the sketchings in the wall of the cave, and then he tells her about, maybe it's doing something that people thought couldn't be done, that gives them inspiration. I think he kind of he's throwing out life lessons at first because Dany's very instinctive and for damn good reason. You know what I mean? They're losing this war when they could have had it won. They're parlaying with Cersei, who has Jaime, that freak show of a mountain, and freaking Qyburn. I don't even care. I can remember her name right away. I don't remember perverts' names right away.
Which show was it? I'm sorry. Which show was it that talked about tough decisions? Was it Westworld or somewhere that it takes a person to make a tough decision, and sometimes you have to make those decisions, and they're not.
Is it Ford or something?
Maybe I'm thinking because I watched too many things lately, but yeah. So not there are decisions and there are decisions, and there are people who can make them. And for example, we were talking about, let's say, making a decision on. There was a talk about Bran and Rob, like when Bran was saved by what's his name, Greyjoy. Greyjoy made a decision to shoot. He took initiative. He shot the guy and saved Bran because he had enough, stuff to do it. Whereas Rob wouldn't be able to do that because it's the family and you don't want to risk it. You don't want to take those choices. Whereas
Great
somebody
point.
has to make the choice, even if it's killing people. I'm not saying she was right. I'm not saying she was wrong, but there is a side to everything. And choices have to be made, and somebody has to have enough guts to do it.
No emotional attachment. It's not a positive thing.
It's business.
If somebody's in a situation where they might need to be like put it, into some a higher level of hospice care per se. You don't want to be like, well, who's the most emotionally attached here to make this decision? You want to have asshole cousin Steve, who he doesn't know anybody. You know what I mean? No, I definitely agree. Yeah, it's a very valid point. The detachment can help because we saw that in the Battle of the Bastards as well. I mean, Jon, hey, he's died. You know what I mean? He kind of we see him accept it after his dumb move, again, and it ends up working out for him. But this level of detachment that I think Barrett gives him a good pep talk about how to embrace that because he's looking for Westworld term cornerstone, a cornerstone. He's like, what does this all mean? He's like, maybe we just have to be the light in the the long night or whatever the metaphor is that he uses, but maybe that's enough. Like there's not some big deep meaning behind it, but just us fighting against what clearly shouldn't be the orcs, but is a pretty pure sense of evil for this world, is good enough for them.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I hope they do something else with it, but
Wait,
can we created to fight the humans.
But they haven't in 8,000 years, while humans have killed each other for 8,000 years.
But they were weaponizing. Valyrian swords were being made. It was crazy.
No, I'm saying, but what the White Walkers haven't killed anyone, and well, maybe they have, but we haven't really. No, they haven't, because they've kind of fallen out of myth. No one believes in them anymore. At least hundreds of years, they haven't done anything. Whereas humans are always.
They're doing a daycare service for Craster.
Wait, can I go to Craster? Right? Do you think Craster ever would have had sons? Like, let's say his first son he had. What did he do with that son?
He tried to have sex with him, then realized he was straight. I don't know. I mean,
I think he just put him away, and that's when it happened.
Outside, right?
Yeah.
Outside. He just didn't want to have any competition. Just put him in the forest.
So did he make a deal, or did the White Walkers save that child?
I think he noticed the bones were gone, maybe or maybe he saw something.
Well, yeah, he saw something that could obviously kill him, and then realized he didn't. He thought, well, what happened? He took a kid. That's very smart. He's like a raccoon digging through the garbage, found the kid. Yeah. And then, very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what people probably did back then. If there were unwanted children, they would take them to the forest and just leave them. I just read about it. I didn't want to read about it. I just kind of
people that do that then, is what you're saying?
Sure.
You're an advocate for it.
Do you remember?
200 years ago, probably, yeah.
Do you remember Jon Snow's first line when he got to Craster? It was like maybe second line, but probably first line.
No, but I bet you do, Kevin.
What does he do with his boys?
What does he do with the boys? And then what about his line at the lake? What did he? Barrack's like, take out that guy. All we have to do is take out him. What did Jon say?
I don't remember what he says about that.
That it's not that easy.
You don't understand. Because if you take out him, they're all going to die. Is Jon worrying about the children? I mean, it's a story that began with the children of the forest. We got Cersei pregnant, Dany pregnant. It's about the children. Like, all these children have had their lives taken away from them. So it's a story that started and it's going to end with the children. Is Jon right now thinking about that? Is that what? That's the way I interpret that line. I think he's thinking about the White Walker children. All right, so I just read a chapter where Jon, he's a Lord Commander. He goes up to a weirwood tree. I don't think it happens in the show, but it's like, so he's a Lord Commander for a little bit. Then there's some new recruits, and he's going up to there's like a handful of them going up to celebrate or say their vows at the weirwood tree. There's a giant there. I think there's 9 people. There's a giant. There's some wildlings. Like 2 of them are dead or something. They end up almost getting in a fight, but then like, yo, we're all here together. Like, this is a sacred place. Let's not fight. And they don't fight. And then Jon thinks to himself, he's like, because at this point, he hasn't even let them through the wall yet. I think they have prisoners. It's a little different than the show. He's got prisoners, but they still haven't even gotten in touch with Tormund to be like, all right, guys, come through. So he hasn't even made that decision yet. And he thinks to himself, he's like, I'm looking across the fire. These people he was just about, like the others, the enemy. And he's like, all I see is men. Like, not men and women, but all I see is men. Will there come a point in the show where he looks at these White Walkers like, yeah, the whites are dead. Like, that's freaky. But when you look at the White Walkers, they are poisoned men. That's all they are, is poisoned men. They've been screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It's definitely pushed heavier in the books, because in the show, a lot of his lines are, it's never been clear. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's never been clear. Like, he says something like that. He's like, there's the breathing and the not breathing. So
and then again, what's the breathing and the not breathing?
Like when they're talking about like why we need the band together. He's like, there's those of us that are breathing and those of us that aren't going to be breathing if we don't do this, essentially something like that.
That's the line where they were at that cell, right? Because we're on that same side of the living.
Yes. And So, I mean, obviously he's not trying to recreate the orcs, and it seems like that's the way it's going in the show. Unfortunately, I think the empathy that we would feel for them is supposed to be derived from the scene where we see their creation, and it's still not even spelled out unless you are familiar with the lore that they're, or whatever else they put out. I think it's like in an after DVD video, is about how they were created to fight against the men. So the men, Via created them. So it's it's all about there is no pure evil and all that nonsense, but which I do believe in. But I think it's interesting what they're introducing there too is the whole mothership trope. If you take down the mothership, you take down them all. So I think that's definitely going to come into play. It's Chekhov's gun that mentioned it. You know what I mean? Probably going to be.
Well, do we want to take down them all? If there's all these innocent people who have been turned, do we want to take down them all, or do we want to heal the mofo's?
I guess they got rid of grayscale, so I guess Sam can just go to work on their junk on this one.
Can I tell you how I think it's going to go down? I think Jon's, because he's going to be in a sword fight and he's going to distract, and then Sam's going to stab the dude in the back with green dragon glass, heal him, and ice shattering everywhere. These guys being healed. I don't know. Is that totally insane? It's kind of insane, isn't it?
No, it's probably the way it's going to go. But we have to think of there's going to be a twist. So what is going to happen? Do either of you two think, I'll go to you first, LMR, think that both can make it out, meaning Jon and Danny, can both make it out of this show?
I don't think so. And I don't want to be mean, but I want some entertainment. I want some heartbreak. I want somebody to die. I'm horrible. I know. But that's my kind of love story where there's also kind of a little bit of a tragedy. I'm not very much like sappy, like, oh, and they lived happily ever after. No, there has to be something that will pull on my strings and I'll be crying a little bit. I don't want them to.
Have you envisioned these deaths in detail?
Oh, yeah.
Well, good note. I'm crying. Kid,
of course, like 1,000 times. That's the best thing, because when the minute it's over, let's just say it this way: the minute this thing is over, it's over. Until it's over, we can make everything possible, and we can live through it like 100 times. And that's what I love about it.
No, we're figuring it out right now.
Oh gosh, do we have to? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. No, but they're
write them a letter that we decided.
On your tears, let me tell you, I'm glad to say I can assure them, because in an interview with Kit Harington, Leslie or whatever her name is, in the show, somebody refresh me, his lover.
Who? I'm sorry. Who?
He's now married to her.
Who's he?
Are we talking about character?
Jon. Egret, sorry.
Oh.
She was watching him read the scripts and made him go because he was weeping when he was reading one of the final scripts. So either we have to figure this is how we have to play this. Is Kit Harington that vain that he was reading a scene about himself?
Definitely
dying,
not.
And he started crying. Or was he reading about Emilia Clarke dying? Or was he reading about Davos? And he was the worst hand of the king ever, but he tried. But
I think it could be like this is not how I see it going down, but imagine Jaime somehow prevents Cersei from blowing up the city. I mean, that's got to happen in one way, shape, or form. The question is, does he become king because of that, or does he then lure in the whites and then save the world because of that? One way or another, he's got to repeat that and save the city. But like let's say he does explode in it and he's in Brienne's arm or whatever. That's the kind of thing that I think someone like Kit Harington would be crying about. Not maybe his character, but I feel like all these actors are probably invested in the story as a whole. So just because they're crying, we have no idea what that means. It could be anyone. Really, the saddest stuff is like if Pod has some tragic death, that's gonna be freaking sad. You know what I mean? It's Pod. He doesn't have a mean bone. He doesn't have a mean bone in his. No, Pod's gonna be knighted, man. He's gonna make it to the end. Pod and Sansa, no.
Well, now I think that it's far more likely. I always envision my final scene with actual Jaime. You know how he was holding the throne and Ned came in and he's like, "What are you doing, bro?" He's like, "Holding the throne, bro. Killed the guy that killed your dad." He's like, "Still not cool." And they had their whole hissy fit after Robert's rebellion, and they held him against him for it. I always envision a scene of Jaime sitting on that throne again, and let me put it together. Jon walks in, looking like Jon, pretty sad, and he looks at him and he's like, "What are you doing?" And Jaime's like, "Do it again." he's like, and Jaime just killed Cersei, who probably just killed Dany. Let's say he's like, "I just killed Cersei." He's like, was Cersei pregnant? There's no honor in that. He's like, "Jesus, guys." And then he's like, "Oh, so you gotta take the throne yourself?" He's like, "No, I'm holding it for somebody." And he gets up and Sansa walks in. He's holding it for Sansa.
Oh, they don't have that much of a relationship, though, do they? Not really.
But he keeps his oath to protect them.
Oh, what am I talking about?
I wrote that on my iPad.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
And I think it's pretty good. And
it's very good.
Them, but yeah, no, I really like it. But I think there's a number of ways it can go down. Kev, did we get an answer on you if they can both make it out? I think no, we don't think they can.
Well, I personally think that anyone who has cheated death, even though they didn't decide to do it themselves, like Jon has been raised. Dany, my personal belief is that Dany, she's not fireproof. I think she stole the life fire. Like I was saying earlier, life is magic. Like love is magic. It's another form of magic, but love is magic. Rhaegar won his tourney, his one joust because he was in love, and he did it for Lyanna. Jorah Mormont did it for his girl. That didn't work out so well, but they were inspired by love. It's magic, but life is magic. Life fire. Everyone's stealing it. Dany stole Mirri Maz Duur's life fire. That's how she survived the pyre. And then I think she stole the fire from all those Khals. Like she's just like, she doesn't know how she's doing it, but she's just like, it's like fire. It's got nothing on me because they die. She lives. So I think she has to die because it just doesn't feel right for people who have stolen life from others to be alive.
Yeah, and George has made a good point. He feels like, I mean, I'm sure he's not happy with all this might be a hot take, but I don't think D&D are doing that great of a job.
Oh, come on, man. That's so
my opinion. Yeah, I'm not saying that
sorry.
All I'm saying is that it's not that they're not doing a good job. I'm saying they shouldn't have got the job, to be honest. They didn't have the resume. But I'm serious.
But thank God they did because this show is amazing.
It is, but I'm just saying both of their resumes put together did not equal that job. I'm not trying to be a dick. I think he wanted them to fail.
I'm more of kind of seeing positive things. I completely understand what people are saying if they don't like it. I completely get it. I notice everything to the point it hurts. However, I turn my thingies on here and I'm happy as heck. And I don't give a flying fudge about other stuff that they're messing up.
Is that like an over-a-counter thing, or do you got to get prescribed? What do you take? What is that?
Prescription. It's a prescription for happiness.
I think it's Oxycontin.
I'll let you know. So I see it as I don't want to look at bad things because it's going to take me out of the show. So I kind of go with the flow and I am enjoying the dragons and all that lovely stuff and then analyze it after. And then, I see everything you're saying, Justin, and I completely get you, Kevin. I'm kind of in the middle.
Gonna hate. It's easy to hate. Yeah. And it's overall enjoy. But the thing is that
it is right.
What Kev was saying is, about the fire, because George has, he rarely takes a break from not writing the books. Or he's writing books, but never the books he's supposed to, to say anything about this show. He actually mostly talks about Kingdom and other shows that are the competitors. But he said he had made a point a few times to say that Dany's not fireproof. So, he's calling him. He's like, Dan, Dave, fuck you guys. And I just want to let you know. She's not.
I don't think they're disobeying his rules. I think they're going along with his rules. She's not fireproof. She just happened to cheat death again. by accessing magic that she doesn't even truly understand.
Doesn't she say she's fireproof? I'm pretty sure, like almost verbatim, she says that. Like,
does she? I don't recall that.
Something very similar.
Every time there's a blood sacrifice, isn't there? She
That's what I mean.
killed all those cows over there. She killed everybody. That's a lot of blood. Oh my god.
Well, like I said, it's all about, you know, blood and fire. Both of them sustain, both of them, you know, but it'd be taken away when it's not controlled. So, you know, the fire cauldron, keeping it there sustains and it falls over. But you know, I want to talk in also the whole issue with succession in a whole for Jon. How, if they keep the same system, how can he not take the throne?
Well, tell me this. Is he actually? Everyone always said, first of all, yeah, there's no rightful heir. That from a god
Stannis,
concept.
number one. God damn it, finish the book. It's Stannis.
Yeah, but then, all right. So now it's been usurped. So the Targaryens are out because they don't have the throne anymore. So technically, neither of them have any right to the throne. Granted, it's all in perspective. If some houses don't believe in Cersei, they never did. But also, Jon wasn't born until after Aerys was dead. So Dany has the right to the throne, no? I mean, the Great Council of 101 AC says it can't pass to a female or a male child of a female ahead of a son. But Jon wasn't even born. So if you're going to go along with the whole usurping, whatever, we're not believing, that didn't happen, even though it did. Dany was alive, and she would have inherited it when Rhaegar and then Aerys died. So she actually already is the right. Oh no, I guess Viserys would be. Oh,
no, it's Jon.
Yeah, it does get mixed messy because Viserys would be, and then Jon was born. Oh, they screwed the girls hardcore. It was Jon. Damn.
It would go to It's definitely would go to Jon.
Yeah, it is Jon.
You know, I mean, it does get confusing. I mean, technically, why is Cersei on the throne? That's not how feudal succession works at all. They're not like, well, who's just was the queen mom once? Let's put her on the throne. You know, it would probably go to like a Blackwood or just some cousin of the closest male bloodline to a Baratheon that would go to.
But
not Cersei.
Sorry, Justin.
No, I was done. I have nothing. I have no answer for it.
Weren't all the people killed? Weren't all the important people killed over there? Didn't she blow them up? And the only people who are left are kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go along because I'm next up in line. I'm gonna be this new royalty kind of person. I'm gonna agree with her. I'm gonna get some land because everybody else is dead.
Well, there's plenty of it to go. I mean, she blew up the Vatican. I can't imagine that goes good in a very religious government. But I think it's important to note that we're not going to see a democratic monarchy anytime soon, or anything close to like a parliament. So we're gonna have to assume somebody takes the throne, and they kind of subvert with the whole it's not so comfortable. They didn't go with heavy wears the crown. They go with this seat sucks to sit in, which I find is clever. But it's forged on lies. Is it something that they're gonna want to go back to and have? I guess it would solve a lot of problems if Cersei did blow it up, right?
She did what?
Blow up King's Landing. If King's Landing's blown up, I guess we got a little bit of easier situation for Jon. We're trying to figure out where he's going to end up.
Isn't it a step backwards if you separate into little realms? That's not you want to unify, but just change the government.
Yeah, it's centralized.
We're going to like break into pieces. That's weird to me. That doesn't.
Well, the little research I've done on like the whole, and this is a long time ago, so excuse me. Smarter people might have better answers, but it's very centralized right now, and that's why they're so out of touch. You see her say it when they're talking about, after the Maester says, oh, the longest summer, after that, they say it's a long winter, and somebody says, that's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's going to be tight. And Cersei is like, well, close the door to the peasants. They should be, in the fields. So she's very desensitized. The monarchs, I guess, for a while in King's Landing, they're very out of the loop. I mean, look, they never even been to the north, and they know they can't control it because it's so big. So it's like, and you had Dorne that for Kev. How long were they out of the mix? They just got brought back into the mix before we saw heads explode. But we didn't really have a unified kingdom in the timeline we see. Even the government's never been doing so swell, at least in the last 14 years. Like Dorne was out of the mix since what? Robert's Rebellion? That's 17 to 20 years, correct? Or 30 years?
I mean, they're still there and they're not warring. They're just doing their thing. They were no threat. I would imagine, I don't have facts on this, but I'd imagine they were paying taxes, no? Everyone's paying taxes to the throne. like
Yeah, they
well,
were selling
taxes
it.
or food or supplies and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they're separate. I don't think they're separated.
Yeah.
They're just kind of they're
Because here's the-
acknowledged. Their name is acknowledged, just in the name, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are right. They didn't have a they didn't, and that's what they were bringing Tristan in for, as a ambassador or somebody. They didn't have a presence in the centralized government, which are like, bring Tristan here and bring those girls that want to fight with a whip as well, and we'll solve this problem. But let's get down to business. Is there a chance that we see somebody actually get called Azor Ahai? They're like, you truly are Azor Ahai. Do you think that
yeah,
come to that?
absolutely. They're gonna say Rhaegar was Azor Ahai. Sam's got to understand this prophecy.
Okay.
You don't think it's Rhaegar?
No, it's either, yeah, we're gonna have a conversation here. No, I don't. But I think that you could, because you could make that argument and it works. It's got a lot of variables that switch around. That's a great thing about this prophecy. It's like, well, maybe they mean this or that. LMR, do you think we're ever gonna see like the aha moment, like the unmasking of Azor Ahai? They're like, oh, it was Varys all the time. See,
I think they may call somebody that, and I'm not saying that they will not, but that's going to be in the meeting. I mean, what is his purpose again, Kevin? If you can tell me, what is the purpose
to
of
only serve the world?
I'm not even going to say the line from the book. How about we go to they open up the books in the show. This comes directly out of the World of Ice and Fire. You remember when they opened the book, and I think it was Gilly reading it, right? The very last couple words, I think they took out half a sentence and another half a sentence. But Elmar, you disappeared. Sorry. But it was so it's directly out of the World of Ice and Fire, minus 2 half sentences. Yeah. And it's about a secret song. Songs, the word song, I mean, the series called The Song of Ice and Fire. You have like, when someone like saying their stupid stuff, you're like, they're singing the same old song. You've got the sweet steel song of like, you're training with your bros and you're getting better at sword fighting. You've got the bloody song of sword fighting. But you've got the songs that are stories passed down. You've got Jon is a song of ice and fire, like his blood is a song of ice and fire. But the secret song that was sung, Azor Ahai, is love.
So that's the song, right? Because we keep hearing about it. Okay, my thing is, okay, we're hearing about Azor. We hear there's a person, right? And my thing is, okay, what's their purpose? Like, what are they singing?
They save from the dark. From the long night, they're the hero. They come
that will
beat the great other.
Okay.
Unified fighting opposite ideals.
Normally, what power has power? I know I cannot word today. What power has power over hate and death and misery? Love, like you say. Exactly.
Turn into a goddamn hippie show.
Yeah. No. Yeah, sure it is. You decided to have us, so hey.
Keep in mind, I love Glee. Glee's my #1 show, bro.
So I think there's gonna be a love and sacrifice. So whatever the love is, I mean, there has to be sacrifice. With love comes sacrifice and readiness to die and sometimes to kill, which is horrible because nobody wants to make that decision. Yeah.
Wait, what are you about to say? Are you about to say Jon's going to slice Dany with a sword?
No. But
no. LMR, is that the sacrifice?
No, okay. I'm not saying maybe a decision for others, for the death of others. I'm not saying he will heal, but he will make a go. He may have to make a go ahead to do whatever you got to do.
Like with Ygritte, like he already did.
Kind of.
Can I give a good example? My buddy Quick Paul Maud, actually, he's one of my original patrons back in the day. I think it was him. He wrote like the Battle of Whispering Wood. Remember? So Rob went down. He crossed the river secretly through the Freys when he made that alliance, and he went down with the majority of his army. And then he lured Jaime, and Jaime's all reckless, and then he captured Jaime. But he sent down Roose with like 2,000 men against something like 20,000, and it's like, oh, dude, like. I couldn't have made that call because I don't want any of my boys to die. Let's stick together. Let's fight this out. But Rob is a better battle commander than I am. He sacrificed some people to win. Well, until he fell in love.
Coming off down, but I definitely agreed because it's all about doing things out of love versus doing things out of hate, because it's all about keeping the balance of love and hate. But what I'm talking about is like Azor Ahai. They're not just going to say it's love.
Can I tell you the best line, the best paragraph in the entire story is the Broken Man paragraph, or that's several paragraphs. But the best line, I think, is Dany's chapter, Dany 10, Game of Thrones. It's actually, I think it's the last sentence of the first book. And for the first time in hundreds of no, that's the last sentence. I'll say it. For the first time in hundreds of years, the night came alive with the music of dragons. That's not the line. It's earlier in the chapter. She's like, she looks at Mary. Oh, Danny's badass. She's probably like 13, 14. And yeah, she's just feeling it. And she's about to walk into that fire. Mary's looking at her before she put Mary in. Mary's like, you're going to die. You don't understand life and death. And she's like, no, but a girl can learn. And she's like, there are powers older and stronger than hatred. That he does never specify that love is a power, but to me, that line says that the power older and more powerful than hatred is. It's love. It's love. Come on. No?
I agree.
I'm such a weirdo.
No, I mean, like that's the like, I guess the feeling behind it. But I mean, and again, I don't personally believe they're ever going to anoint anybody as Azor Ahai. I just think it's the ability with the show. So I don't think that they would go so meta and be like, it's love. You know what I mean? That's my idea, guys. I'm not trying to make you feel like I'm shitting on. I'm not. I'm just saying.
No. I hear you.
I mean, they're not.
How are they going to relay that? It would be really dorky. I hear you.
On of ice and fire, and it's a literal song. You know what I mean? They play this game, and the White Walkers start dancing. Everybody gets off. And it happens.
Oh my god!
Cold source. So I mean, you get what I'm saying? They're not like it was.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because that's not also. It's not everything's all bad, but not everything's all good either. So
what about survival, the power, or letting people? I mean, what people are what they want to do eventually? They want to survive, right? The humankind, the species. So the power. I don't even know how to word it. What word to use? Basically, to survive. To do everything, to not just whatever you use, love, hate, anything and everything to survive, whatever you need to.
You should do the Independence Day speech, the president right now. That's what I keep hearing.
Well, that is what
the right to live on.
That's right. I just realized it. Yeah.
We celebrate.
Yeah, maybe that's the person who has the power to. Not just the power, but the will to survive, to do everything possible, no matter what they're using. They don't care what they use. They just want to survive, for humans to survive and maybe coexist. I'm stretching and tinfoil.
Coexist.
No, it makes sense because, the White Walkers are not only a metaphor for global warming and just a plethora of other things, but, for death as well. So how do you survive? How does evolution happen? Through adapting. And who is good at adapting? Who's the guy that's gone? You know what I mean?
Would White Walkers be a metaphor for death, or would they be a metaphor for like eternal life? Fire consumes. Fire is life. Fire consumes until there's nothing left. So fire is life, and fire can take away life. But he was shoved in the heart with dragonglass, frozen fire.
But then he carries around the whites, which are a bunch of dead people.
They're dead.
But yeah, but he showcases it. You know what I mean? He's like throwing death in their face.
So he's bringing dead people to a battle, whereas Jon and everyone, like Robb Stark, he's like, all right, my dad, one person's down in King's Landing. All you thousands of people, come with me. Let's go fight for him. All thousands of you are going to die for that one guy. Whereas the Night Kings, man, he's just rolling up with a couple of his buddies and a bunch of dead people, like a bunch of robots.
Yeah, he's fighting. He's throwing the death, because I take it as a dialogue on the War of the Five Kings. Because let's look at all the needless fighting that didn't amount to jack shit. It amounted to Cersei eventually on the throne, which is not going swimmingly. So look at every single time that they were so in battling each other, so caught up battling each other, they were feeding the enemy. And we can use this as a metaphor for like the use of coal and the industrialization with climate change, and are just wanting something so bad. This advancement at the current time, their advancement taking power, our advancement taking power as well, at least for the United States for sure, becoming a fucking superpower and not looking at the consequences that are right in front of your face. I think I think that it's not really as far of a stretch for people as we might believe to not believe in the White Walkers, because we literally, and I'm not some big whatever green earth guy or anything. I mean, I think climate change is real, but we definitely look at it right in the face every day. Hurricanes, like 5 of them at once, and we're like, yeah, that's normal, that's happening, that's fine. What's going on with this? I mean, we ignore. So the White Walkers are bringing death to their door. They're bringing the people that they killed as well to their door every time. That's the only reason, and it's still not a valid reason in my belief, they go to King's Landing, is because that's just more dead people to join their army. they fueled that.
They're going there, right? You think they're going there?
Question for you. Can I ask you a question, both?
Yes.
I want to ask you a question too.
Okay.
Deal.
Can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So for both of you, I as you know, I analyzed the heck out of stuff. Probably not you, Justin, because we didn't chat before, but much. But so my thought was, okay, so there is this dude, right, Night King, or however he's named in other places, right? First of all, yeah, he's a cool dude. So he's there, but the face I see on him, analyzing him just by the way he's looking, he does not look happy about what he's doing like Ramsay did. He's not having fun. He's just like as if it's something that, like, in his expression, he's not having
he's sad.
a blast. No, I see sadness, and I see pondering, and I see just kind of, okay, I'm doing it because so he's doing his thing. My thought was, okay, so obviously what's his end game? I know this is kind of a little bit off topic, but like, what is he gonna do? That's why I'm saying he's not. I don't think he's all bad. I don't think because like, what is he gonna do? He's gonna go kill everybody and they're gonna be standing like drones? No, he's gonna be like, okay, go here, let's play chess. Go there. Like, no, they're not gonna be playing chess. There's a reason for what he's doing. Obviously, he's killing, and obviously things are happening, but he's not gonna play chess with all the dead people. That's my point. What is his end game? What the heck is that about? Anyway. Just a question. What are your thoughts?
In my opinion, he's bringing their mess. He's like, you guys can't see it. I'll bring it to you. Look at all these. Okay. This is what you're doing. You're forcing people to go fight for a lord they don't know. They've never met. They don't even know what he looks like. They're armed poorly, and they go and die for some lord. They go and die for Ned Stark's honor. They go and die for Robert's, need to satisfy his, urges and get revenge. They die for, a bunch of people in a big castle that they never know. So the people in the big castle now have to look at all the death, quite literally, that they are responsible for. It's pretty much like if I dumped garbage every day in somebody else's yard, that guy eventually is going to be like, if he's smart, just rake all that shit back in mine and be like, no, you take care of it.
That'd be funny.
And I think it's a commentary on that. I don't really know how they're going to deal with it because it's D&D. They'll be like, because again, you're right. he's just kind of gave like, it's almost a look of disgust in my opinion. He's not mad, but it's kind of like everybody has that "what's up, bro?" Because it's kind of like, "What's up, bro?" Mm-hmm. I've killed a few people too, but you guys are killing people left and right. You know what I mean? And you're keeping people on another side of a wall because you made a non, you made your own boundary. It's not even anything that's, it's a false boundary. They built a fucking wall, I guess, with magic or something, but that they're like, all you need to do is blow it up. But you know what I mean? Like, they build walls to keep their own out. They sacrifice their own all the time. It's pretty much like they made me into a monster because of you guys. And I guess the only way to take it is he'd be like, I'm starting to see why.
What about you, Kev? No, I completely get it. But I want to see, because there's a reason why they're here now. I don't know what the reason is, and I'm still open to all the kinds of suggestions. And like you said, he could have probably, it's just a wall, they can blow it up, right? It's nothing big. I
mean, my only reason I can think of for him to be here, and I'm away from the mic, my only reason I can think of for him to be here is that it's like Smokescreen. This is his big theory, and I don't think it's right at all in terms of where the show's going, but I think his logic behind the theory is right, is that the dude was created at a weirwood tree. So he's tied to weirwoods, right? And it makes sense. Like, if the children are in this fight against humans, or humans are bigger, they've got better weapons, and they're more humans. So they've got to come up with a weapon that they can turn the humans' numbers against them. What do? They create someone who can then raise the dead. Boom, you can turn the numbers against them. But in addition to that, in addition to using the numbers advantage against them, the children wanted to protect weirwood trees. Now you've got we don't know this for sure, but you've got an enemy, or the White Walkers, who they thought were they can control. They are vested in the weirwood trees, because if you kill the weirwood trees, then the White Walkers die. So personally, I think that the first Long Night happened a long time ago. I don't think it was the Night's King. I think that would, like, what we're going to see in a prequel, I think, is humans versus humans. That's my guess, because I can't imagine them turning it, like, there's a high fantasy world, very low magic high fantasy. I can't see them turning it into a high magic high fantasy show. But I think that then the Night King, he had his fight versus the Starks, and he was formerly a Stark. I think he was Jon Snow, a bastard of Winterfell, just like Jon, who went to the Wall, betrayed by his brothers, just like Jon fell in love with someone above the wall, just like, I think he fell in love with Danny Flint, but he goes north. Then he was turned And I think he was turned a second time, even though there was a pact and stuff. Thousands of years later, he was turned because the Andals came and started burning down weirwood trees. That's our second set of burning down weirwood trees. So to bring it thousands of years forward, Melisandre came and she burned down a weirwood tree at Storm's End. That was one of the first things she did. So that's why I think he mobilized, because he's like, oh crap, like I think he's a green seer. We don't know for sure. He did touch Bran, so it seems like he's a green seer. But he may have these shadow visions of like, holy crap, like they're about to destroy me, which means they're going to destroy all these lovely kids that I saved from Craster. So, and he doesn't want that. So he's got to mobilize, and it sucks. Like, war's bad. He looks like a demon, but he's just fighting for his people.
And maybe, again, he's just showing, you know, and I know it's not going to be therapy. He's not going to sit down and cross his legs and be, let's talk about how you're feeling, guys. But, you know, a very good possibility in a more cinematic way that he is there to show them, look at what was created to fight you guys off, you know, with the children. The monster you're afraid of. I was created. My humanity was taken because you lack humanity. You know, you lack humanity as soon as you objectify and treat anybody else anything lower. You, by definition, lose your humanity. So I think it is a dialogue. We have to look at what the show's major themes are. Anti-war. George said war isn't good. I'm pretty sure war isn't good. It's pretty sweet to watch on TV, but yeah, it's not.
But
good.
It happens.
It happens. And, you know, that these people in high castles, you know, I guess the viewpoint from the Night King would be like, you know, you're not, everybody's just the same, you know, on the same freaking level when you're dead. You're all just dead. And Jon knows that more than anybody.
That's so true.
Oh, you know, she's like, what'd you see? Was it awesome? Was my God like, yeah, did Melisandre bring you back? He's like, no. It's nothing. It's very disappointing. And just kill me, please. You know, like, I mean, like I brought that up before. I think, I don't know if it was on air or not, but this whole
it was before
trying to be a god and all this. And it's very, we put it up in this light. Oh man, I'd love to be a god, but what is a god? It's something that lives between worlds. And it's something that is, you know, we don't, it's you're a hybrid monster. Look at you're built into the roots. They show this quite clearly. You know, the person like Patchface with the drowned gods and all that, he has the most relevant actual prophecies. And you could claim that, you know, he's the only one that's went under that whole process of being drowned and brought back to life thing on it through their religion. And he's an example of the Jon. He's the Jon. Patchface is, you know, point for point, checks all the Jon boxes. A little exaggeration, but you know,
Jon can't sing.
Yeah, but he has been brought back by the drowned god, or at least they want us to believe. So, and look at how he's doing. I mean, yeah, he's got a place at the court, but he's kind of looked at it as a joke, and I think it's sad. But you know, I mean, it's a horrible existence. This deeper knowledge, it's a huge burden. Look at Bran. He'd be better off as a drug addict with all those jokes people make. I mean, he's catatonic. You know what I mean? Like, there's never been anybody in the show that's been empowered through mystical means that's doing great that I can remember.
There's a comment here, and I'm kind of in the chat.
I was hoping you guys are going to do that this whole time. I can't do the two. I'm a beginner here.
No, I'm like chatting away.
I'm glad you're doing this.
I love it. I love chatting. People know me. They're like, not know me. No, not that they know me, but they know that I always chat with them. So, and I'm not hosting. This is so cool. But there's a question here from Tam Hodgkins. It says he just needs another Stark to replace him. I'm assuming Night King. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Justin, I'll just say my thoughts. I don't understand how that makes sense. No offense. Who is it? Who said it? Was it a Justin?
Tam Hutchins.
Well, so what is because a lot of people have been saying that to me, and I'm totally not dissing the theory because a lot of really intelligent A Song of Ice and Fire nerds have been saying it. I don't get it. What would be the point? Yeah, what would be the point? So let's say Jon fights a guy, kills him, and then what? Does Jon like change me so I can like lead them? Like I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me at all. But I'm probably just missing whatever the baby steps are that they're coming to that.
So it's not like the thing with what was that movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, where there always has to be a captain or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that movie. So always there has to be somebody to replace somebody. So I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but this is kind of what it reminds me. Somebody else, and actually Fura Hexa says Night King wants to get released from his curse.
That's a reasonable request. On the first question, there's a whole theory. I think that who said it? Tyler.
Yeah, Tim. No,
Tim.
Tam Hutchins.
Tim Hitchens. I think what you're probably going off of, and hey, I'm all for anything. I don't have like any like set in cement. I think you guys think I'm like really like going against some things, but I just say what I say very confidently. I'm not. It's my lack of confidence. I'm like, this is
That's
how
what I do.
It's just how I feel. But no, there's a whole theory that it's a Stark. You know what I mean? So that would make sense that that's how it is. But I think that again, we have to look at the major themes of this story in this whole, ruling through blood and not, succeeding through blood, not merit and all that, that they're kind of going to go away from that. But again, history repeats itself. So if it is a Stark, then there's a big, chance that does happen to a point. But I think there's more of an argument for the Bran one. I don't really give a crap what happens to Bran at this point.
Wait a second. What's the Bran one?
Well, the Bran is that he wargs into him.
Oh, come on.
That he's stuck. But I don't like it. I didn't make it up, douchebag.
All right, well, here's the thing.
YouTube,
can we cover this so that I don't have to see it in my comment section anymore? There is some evidence that he could fall asleep. I think that was more related to his journey upwards. He was spending too much time warging, and he was almost going to get trapped. And when you warg, you absorb. He becomes part animal. That's part of why he does things he does, because he's absorbing a wolf. That's part of his personality now. But so we have arguably the best chapter in the books. What is it? It's a prologue for Dance of Dragons, and it shows what a second life is. And then also throughout the story, it's like if you warg into an animal, so like your Bran, you warg into the Night King, and if they kill you, you can live on inside the Night King, but you're there, right? But that doesn't kill the Night King. So it's like that's one of the theories is that Bran's gonna warg him. They're gonna kill Bran. Oh, it's so sad. And then the Night King goes down. That's not the way it works. Or at least not the way we've been told. And then plus the dude's 8,000 years old. I'd find it. Bran's a super powerful dude. I find it hard to believe that Bran's gonna warg into him and then control his body and lay down. Guys, quick, get me! I'm holding him down. That would be so weird.
Yeah, and it's always the all-powerful recluse that George makes into the guy that saves it, and that's Bran. The one thing I did want to say about when we talk about the everything having to be balanced, we have to figure that the way you explain away what happened with Jon in the Battle of the Bastards and his resurrection is that the good that Jon brings has to equal out the evil. So the presence of the Night King is making Jon. So they are fueling each other. You see what I'm saying? What I'm getting at?
Definitely,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I'm not even trying to be a jerk, but if Jon started not being so good, maybe it, goes the other way. But there is some substance to that. I think that because that's how George writes all about balance. It's all about call it the yin and yang, call it the whatever, the gemma, whatever. The symbol that's in everywhere that they put everywhere. Again, if you have a secret symbol, don't write the shit everywhere. Every show does that. They're write the secret symbol everywhere. It's it's not secret anymore. But but no, I definitely see, because it's Jon is able to, the closer he gets, is Jon is able to survive these events that's just not even explainable. But it's just tough how they're going to reckon with this. I see Jon defeating them in some sort of battle. But then it has to end ambiguously. It has to end in a sacrifice of Dany or someone that puts these. I don't think they're going to be defeated because I don't see that working well for the lore. You know what I mean? The walkers in general. I think that they're just going to leave as mysteriously as they came. And then somebody should yell to them, "Can you let us know when you're coming back and why you're coming back?" They're like, "It was the swords. You were right."
You think that Jon's going to take out the Night King, and then the other White Walkers will be like, "Guys, you want to keep going? Let's go back." And then they're gonna talk to each other and be like, "What are you talking about, bro?"
Are there a reminder of what not to do to not destroy the world? You mean, Justin? They're kind of coming in when they meet and going back.
Really?
Yeah, because then I don't think that. Yes, Elmar's got it. And again, guys, you have every right to laugh because it is silly. But I think that it goes along with it is that they're not there to destroy man. Man's destroying man. They're there with their junk.
Not that evil.
So they're like, okay, have enough of you died to realize? And we're like, yeah, we'll remember. All right.
To play devil's advocate, why? I mean, the reason why they would come now would be Jon Snow's birth. Maybe that way he was a magic amplifier catalyst. But why wouldn't they have? What you're saying is they're coming here to teach man a lesson. What about all the other wars? Why now?
Well, that's the whole Holocaust thing with religious, people. It's like, well, why wouldn't God come now? Why wouldn't this do now? You don't know. It's an easy, I guess, faith, best answer in the world. lack of evidence. But yeah, you have a valid point there. But I think that there's something to be said for if you want to make something empathetic, somebody empathetic a character and have people feel for him, what is more noble than somebody not wanting to see what has happened to them? Like the Night King is like, my life, I'm a monster. I'm trapped in this body. I live this culture that's horrible. I'm made into a monster because of your guys' actions. You know what I mean? Like, I want you guys to sacrifice me, and I want you guys to realize how far this can go and how much you're ignoring what's really right in front of you. It's to hope this doesn't happen again. So this succeeds in the plot, and I'm sorry, I know, but this succeeds for the casual fan because we get the cool boss fight. They're boss fight, Night King, Jon Snow, stage 1, you know. And he goes out there, Bran distracts him by warging a dragon, maybe gets caught, don't even care what happens to him. And then, you know, the Night King truly wants to die because he's shown no, other than some pretty stares that I wouldn't take kindly to, you know. I mean, what's up, bro? But, you know, he's shown no hostile action other than bringing all the dead people back. So if he dies, maybe it's like a whole thing of, yeah, just kill me, but please learn something from it. I mean,
so sorry, there's like a lag a little bit. That's why I'm kind of jumping in.
You're good.
So the whole thing about North remembers, what if it's not about the North, the Starks, but the North remembers? What about that? The North remembers.
Of course, the arguably definitely Bran's most important line in the books is Jojen telling Bran, like, Bran's like, what do I have to learn? And Jojen, well, in the show, it's Bloodraven, a thread raven in the show, and it's like, everything. In the books, Jojen says truths forgotten now in Winterfell. I mean, Bran's story is about flying through Greensight and finding out the truth about the past. So what you just said, the North remembers, yeah, that's the whole point of the story, is that, like, Ned, Catelyn worries about the White Walkers, I think, in like Eddard 2 or Eddard 1, Eddard 2. And Ned doesn't even think that, he's like, Maester Lewin doesn't even know if they ever existed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The North
Maesters have been suppressing, that's another thing. They're suppressing information. You know, in the books, they clearly are. I don't know if you want to do the whole Citadel, go that far. I think it's genius. I just don't think, you know, George's like, damn, I should have wrote that. Same thing with the debt scheme. But it's just, I think, an issue too of like you guys said, the North remembers. And it's like, so what they just, because, you know, we see that's with Jon when they say, oh, you know, you're a Southerner. He's like, I'm not a Southerner, you know, and but it's all, what do we, you know, we all deem ourselves this or that. But what about the green site, like you brought up, Kev? Like, look at this. How many more tools do they need to see? They can literally go through time and see what happens, and they still fuck up.
Well, tell me, here's a tool that I feel like no one buys me on this, but it's all right. I want to hear your opinions. I've shown pictures of green dragonglass at Hardhome, and there's one line in the books that mentions green, purple, and red dragonglass. How is that not Chekhov's gun? I don't see why everyone is not talking about this. We've literally seen black dragonglass, and then there's green dragonglass in one scene, a scene where Jon reaches for it and gets pulled away. Isn't that Chekhov's gun? Am I nuts to say that that's going to be the dragonglass that Sam shoves into the back of the White Walker? Like, I just can't imagine it going down any differently, because it's like, you've shown green dragonglass in like 3 frames of the entire show.
Yeah, well, what about the whole idea? I mean, it doesn't meet up with the timeline, but also Sam's child being wanted. He's like, you took one of my daycare people. That's how I make my money.
And that's actually was another comment from, I think, John Haymaker. He mentioned that was supposed to be 100.
Hey, John.
Awesome name, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, that what's his name? The little guy. He was supposed to be
Tyrion.
No. The baby.
Baby Sam.
No, yeah. So baby Sam. There we go. So he was supposed to be the 100th baby, and then I think Honey said later on, and I don't have it in front of me. That's why I just kind of going from memory, and then that there was another baby after.
Yeah, one more.
So I'm just thinking, what are your thoughts about that? Does it play into anything to do with what's happening right now?
Well, the White Walker, what's cool about that scene is that the White Walker showed up. He didn't have, I don't think any of the White Walkers wore armor back then, but he didn't have a weapon. My man just showed up to save the baby. You know what I mean? There's a male son. And Craster was, in my opinion, Craster has killed male children since day one. Who knows if the White Walkers even saved the first one? Craster wanted to bang his daughters. You know, that's weird. So it's like males are their competition to him. I look at the White Walkers as saving those kids. So like he showed up and he's like, I don't think he had shoes on. My man was just like, you know, like some little swim shorts. And he's like, give me the baby. Sam stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
And that's a valid point. I'm happy you brought up because I was going to say the same thing. How could we really look at the situation as anything other than helping those kids? Because the only other way you can, I'll tell you, is by saying, well, why did he turn him? Well, it's like, I'm pretty sure that he can't really probably adapt to like a human. It's probably, you could reason away far quicker that they would have to for the kid to survive where they live. He brings the storm. I had this crackpot theory that he's really in the coat business, the Night King, and he's cornered the market. Because what would be better if you were winter wear?
Coat.
No, coat. Like he's bought up all the material. Littlefinger's been in cahoots with him. That's why they had him killed.
Coat, COAT.
Yeah, like for warm. Think about all the spring nights in the south. They're not. You bring the storm down there. You've cornered that market. You're gonna upsell them, and you're gonna make. They have no choice. They gotta get a coat.
With all the Dothrakis. I mean, do you have how many thousands of people who need coats?
And Dany is the internet. She is the overseas ambassador to Essos for what I'll call is the real North Pole, where a North face, the real face of the North, where in there he's selling the coats. Dany is in cahoots. She's like, I'll bring over a whole bunch of guys. He's like, are they going to be equipped for the winter? She's like the absolute opposite of that. They wear nothing. He's like, do they surf on horses? She's like, yep, they're fucking idiots. She's like, it's going to be perfect. You know, they can't even deal with the water. He's like, perfect. I'll come down. I'll bring the storm. People will buy they're good coats. You know what I mean? And they'll do it. That's why they'd get rid of the wildlings, because the wildlings knew how to make coats. You know what I mean? They got to get rid of the northerners. They can adapt. Southern Knights, you got a whole bunch of Tyrells. Not what you used to.
We have economy going, right? It's all about economy.
It's all about cornering a market, people. It's about capitalism. Current, man. That's what I love about it. It's just like that sweet show Succession and stuff like that, and Billions. The businessman show. Yeah, no, I was gonna make a whole video, and I started, and I was like, wait a minute, Justin, you have videos you really want to make. And I was like, all right. But I'm still. You'll see it eventually. You'll be like, he hit rock bottom. You guys said
Tim earlier. It was Tam Hutchins.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my voice.
Hey, Tam.
Yeah, Tam.
Everybody's name on the internet is so hard to say. It's never a Tim or a Mike. It's always hard to say. Oh, there's a few Tims and Mikes in here.
Ooh. So wait. Someone, Bubba Husky, right? So this is something I was thinking about today. Baby swapping Jon, taking after his dad. He baby swap. Okay, that's cool. So it doesn't happen in the show, but I'm not going to address where you're going with this. He baby swapped Azor Ahai as well. Yeah, I'm not going to go that direction because it does get interesting. Like, I'm not into the whole, what is it, N plus A equals J type stuff. But the baby swapping thing does make that is suspicious, right? So in the books, there's a girl, a wildling girl called Val or whatever. There's a Mance Raider, and he has a baby. They end up like Stannis is going to burn Mance's son because like King's blood. Like, I don't personally believe in King's blood. I think people have magical life, whatever. But anyway, Jon wants to protect a child, so he does a baby swap. So he gives Mance's son to Gilly and Sam. Oh, poor Sam doesn't even know. Gilly, oh, can you imagine being the mother? And she left her son up north of the wall, but she goes down to the Citadel with Mance's baby. So there's a baby swap. So people use that for R plus L plus J or N plus A, whatever. But what I'm getting at is sorry?
Go ahead. Sorry, I
so
was
really,
that's a bad idea.
You know the 7 heroes theory? How people think like some of the 7 heroes, it's like, I used to really dig this. I don't anymore. It used to be like, yeah, there's a father, a mother, a warrior, crone, smith, maiden, stranger. I think we're selling the theory. We're selling the 7 heroes short in that sense. The truth about the 7 heroes is it's about being a well-rounded person. That one person embraces all 7 of the gods, right? And even within those gods, like the smith isn't just a smith; it's someone who works. That's just it's a concept. And so within the smith, there's 7 pieces, and then within the smith, there's a million different pieces in there. So I think the best way to look at the 7 heroes theory is actually to look at a character and say, how have they checked off the father box? How have they checked off the mother box? Blah, 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 blah. In the books, like Jon isn't really a fighter. Like Jon is a fighter in the show. So I guess there's 2 different ways to set up his fight versus the Night King. In the show, they're like, he's the man. He's gone to Hardhome. He's done the Battle of the Bastards, and he's done the mutiny at Craster's Keep. And the Battle at the Wall. None of those happen in the books except for the Battle at the Wall. But Jon's injured. He's up in he's up in a little silo shooting. He chops someone as they climb up through a hatch. That's gross. But so really, one of the only boxes that Jon hasn't checked off as a fighter, which is why I do think he's training his ass off, training his tushy off. So I think he will have a showdown with the Night King once the Night King reveals his face in the books. But that goes back to the comment talking about the baby swap. One of Jon's coolest things is being the mother. So mothers who protects children, right? He did it with the direwolf pups was the first time. The second time is at the wall protecting Sam. Sam's a little kid. He protected him. Later on, then there's a baby swap. He's protecting children. Jon's acting as the mother. He in the books he protects Alice Karstark. She's like 15. She comes to the wall. In the show, it's a little different because Sansa's whatever the actress's name, she's probably like 20s at the time. She's not really a kid, but in theory, he went down to the Battle of the Bastards to save his little sister, a kid. You know what I mean? So he's totally about he's a mother figure. He's embraced that many times, and that's partially why I think that when he's like, "You don't understand," that wasn't that good. But I think he wants to save the children, like baby Sam's brothers. I seriously think he does not want to kill the Night King because he's like. Because I don't know, Jon's the kind of dude that's like, he's kind of got that weird thing like Ned of like doing what's good. And it's like, is killing good? He's like, I want to kill that guy. I don't want him to kill us, but I don't know if we kill him, like all his kids die too. It's cute little frozen babies.
Frozen babies.
He's gonna want to know why it's happening. Jon has shown a good amount of foresight. You know what I mean? And he looks at situations and he's able to adapt. So he's gonna look at this and be like, well, this obviously happened before, supposedly. So maybe just axing these people ain't the best way to go about it. Like again, we're gonna have the Golden Company in the mix and all that. I see Jon as somebody that is going to keep playing the role of the commander until finally, I guess the subversion of the trope would be that he does it so well that they don't need him. You know what I mean? And then he can go.
What do you mean? Like, will he die, or he can find data?
He can just go about whatever's left of his life knowing what he knows, I guess. And that's just life. He's going to have to move on. And, people are going to make these grand stories about this and all these things. Just who can you name the last hero? We don't know. No, anybody. I'm not. It's not a test. Like
so he won't step up to the power.
We do know the name of the last hero. It was Jon Snow.
Well, no. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like the annals of time. You know what I mean? It's all going to be washed away anyways.
So, I see what you're saying.
But I think it's more about, yes, it's about protecting the weak, in taking less of that hard edge about, things are tough up here. Everybody has their ideas to the utmost, like fullest extent here. Like even like Littlefinger, all he cares about is power. All Varys cares about is giving power back to the people and his utter fear of magic. You know what I mean? So those are all their weaknesses. So what is Jon's weakness? I guess his weakness,
good question.
Like we have to find a weakness that's holding him back. Being resurrected is not a weakness. His weakness, I think, would maybe be his actual lineage being brought forth, because that is something that I truly think that after all this is said and done, look at him. He told Melisandre, he's like, bitch, don't bring me back. I'm miserable. You know what I mean? He
won't even know if he's like, you were just sleeping, dude. You were not brought up. You just were kind of out of it. We didn't bring you back.
I'll have to try.
He's like, no, I couldn't be more clear. She's like, I'm going to do it anyways, just so you know. I'm like, you could lie. You could just say you're not going to and do it anyways. I don't know why you're making a problem. She's like, I'm an all cards on the table type of old lady. But like what his weakness is, he like he says, he's like, I've been fighting ever since I left home. And it's getting, even Stannis has left, Stannis has already given him what he's always wanted, to be a Stark. I doubt what he ever really wants is to be a Targaryen either. And his utter starkness and the whole foreshadowing with Theon, when Theon's like, when he says the only reason I'm not killing you is because you don't have a penis, so I feel pretty bad for you. And also, you know what I mean? Like, but he remembers, like he's, and he tells him that he's both, he's a Stark as well. You don't have to be stuck between these. So he's not going to just look at it like that. And I think that's something to turn down power is to resist it, to be the guy that says no when he has everything handed to him, especially a bastard that had nothing handed to him. Well, a noble bastard, but in his toity life had nothing handed to him. There's that sad line where he says, when he's talking to Sansa, he goes, I guess I couldn't have been that much fun always, sulking in the corner when you kids played. It's just very sad.
I have a follow-up question for you. I have a follow-up question if I could after you're done.
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Hey, Scotty, 16976. Sorry.
Good. And we can do, if it's okay with you later on, Justin, we can do some shout outs. But I wanted to ask you about Jon. Like right now, I don't think there were a couple of videos, and I think one of them said that, and it was great because it said that Jon is he's a leader, but to the point. But then I'm hoping that he will realize it. But the problem is, okay, he doesn't want power, right? He never wanted it. That's fine. He's just doing his duty. Like he always was thinking about doing his duty for family and blah, blah, blah. What if he has to make a choice, like Ned had a choice: take over or let Robert rule. Some, you know, half-ass king who doesn't know how to do his job. So if he had a choice, okay, I'm gonna be the king, hopefully better than some other guy or girl, would I choose to be the king, or will I still say no to it and let the other dude or gal do this horrible job? What do you think he'll do, guys? Like, will he take the power and carry that burden, or and just try to make it better, or will he give the power to somebody else who is not as worthy, maybe, or not even worthy, who's not good at it? What do you think?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I would argue too, and I know I've said it as well, that to be honest, he's a better negotiator, and he's a better consolidator or than a leader. His battle commanding, in hindsight, thinking about it right now, is not great. His record is not. I mean, the Battle of the Bastards, he's just lied because he's fucking again, the whole keeping it, the universe equal. But yeah, he got killed. You could say he's not really a good leader, because the people that he was leading with the Night's Watch killed him for his decision, even though it was the right decision. So is that really
some of them, not everyone? Some of them.
Well, yeah. And they had a valid point where he hung him there. You're not supposed to be alive. This shouldn't be happening. I'd be, that's a valid point. That guy get down from the gallows. I always thought that was funny. That was like his excuse. He's like, he's not even supposed to be alive. He can't hang us. I'm like, he's God. So I wonder how much also they're going to play up the God aspect in the books. They only stuck with it for half episode and thing. But I think that I'm just retracting before, and then I'll shut up, that he's not the best commander. He's more of a negotiator. He's able to make the compromises and look at the better good. That's not a battle commander. That's almost a politician, a humanitarian, something like that. So I think that giving up the throne is repeating history, but to put somebody else on it just to prove a point, who's he proving that point to? He believes in duty. Duty is the only thing that's keeping him going, keeping him waking up in the morning. He even says Go ahead.
What's the death of duty?
It is when the soldier has no more wars to fight.
Well, no, LMR.
Wow.
Love is the death of duty. That's something Aemon says to him. I think both books and show. Yeah.
But his loves are all gone, and we have to figure Danny's probably not going to be making
love for the people. I think it's love for the people, or maybe I don't know.
He's about to reunite. He's got Danny. She's going to be pregnant. He's got Arya. Sansa and him are building a new relationship. My man's got a lot of, sorry, I'm squeaking around. My man's got a lot of reasons, or a lot of people whom he loves. No, even like a Davos. Like, you've been hanging out with Davos, taking ship rides. Like, he's got to love Davos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, friendship. Yeah.
Well, I guess what it comes down to is the wheel going to be broken, and what does that mean? Are they going to get rid of the Iron Throne, or you know what I mean? Like,
wait, before we continue, like you're talking about Jon as far as the Iron Throne, right? I think everyone assumes that Jon is going to at some point have a one-on-one with the Night King, right? Do you actually think my man's going to survive that? Yeah. Is there any chance? Really?
It's just weird to kill him
years old. He just killed a dragon with a spear. How is Jon going to win that fight?
Because he didn't kill Jon with the spear, so I don't think he wants to kill Jon.
What about dead? What is dead may never die?
What is dead?
I know it's a different house, but like he's according to George, isn't he like a fire white? And then like, what do we know about him? But again, this is books and show and all that. Well, he's still dead in the books, but I'm wondering if he's going to play into that, like if they're going to be on the same turf. In the books, I'm talking in the books. Jon being hopefully resurrected or whatever you call it. Meeting the Night King, and he's like, hey dude, yeah, so we're kind of cool because we're both dead, kind of, sort of different, fire eyes, little boom.
So you think there is a Night King in the books, even though we haven't seen him? I do.
I think there is because everything. Okay, if George, from a writer's perspective, if George said that if he's in the books in the beginning, that would completely be like, okay, no, ta-ta-ta. There would not be that. I want that ta-da-da to be at the end, not in the beginning. I don't want it to be like, they have to not tell the story, make people kind of guess for the longest time, and then give them the answer. Not in the beginning. And there was a Night King. Okay. It's not a kid's story. It's George's book. So
it's a narrative tool. You know about this though. They set the clock for the pacing. That's what that's about. And first off, they show you that it's not this mystery. It's a mystery for who we're watching. So it's very enjoyable as horrible human beings. Like, these fuckers don't even know.
Just feeding it little bit by little.
Yeah, but it's a clock on your narrative. So it's a ticking time bomb. So we know, and there's this urgency that's always in us. That's like, you're supposed to be doing something about this. Why aren't you? You know what I mean? It totally pulls us in these different directions. It's a narrative time bomb, and they set the clock on it. And right when they show them and they establish they're real, and then they go to like the most homely, home you can get to and make you feel. And then they show people, they do. I always mention this, and I think it's worth mentioning now, on how much we like the Starks when we immediately see them kill somebody who we know for a fact is telling the truth.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But on first watch, I was like, damn right you do, because it's about duty, and I'm not like that at all. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's about honor. I've been doing nothing but fight. You kill him. You know what I mean? I got a brother's in the watch. My brother's in the Night's Watch. You know what I mean? Damn, you got to do your duty. But yeah, we like them. Those are the best people, because she didn't want the kid to go, and the girl seems fun. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very good at that. But yeah, it's about setting that clock, but the clock to what? You know, I mean, it's going to be very hard to handle in a way that's not very heavy-handed by Dan and Dave. But I think a certain amount of chaos will ensue, and then there will be a ceasefire of some sort. I don't know how much the Golden Company is going to play into it. I will bet money, which I will bet money with you people up to a reasonable amount, that the Golden Company will not fight for Cersei. They will break their first contract.
Betray?
Plus, there's the whole thing about there's a difference between when you write a book, you can paint it with pictures in your mind. Your imagination is your only limit, and words are writer's only limit. So on the show, it's a little bit different, because we already see what the guys are the D&D are putting up there. So we're seeing their vision. So we're seeing it through their eyes. It's a little bit different from the book, because in the book, when I'm reading it, I'm getting my own pictures. You're getting your own. Everybody gets their own pictures. So showing a White or Night King or everybody over there, it is on the screen, and you cannot dispute it. You cannot, in a way, interpret it that much. You see what you see, it plays it. Your mind plays it out. So that's why I think they kind of had to show it on the show, because not everybody would click. Not everybody would go from this point to that point and connect it. They wanted to make the connection for us. Whereas in the book, you kind of are introduced to it slightly, and then you kind of hint to it. Plus, he has so many pages. He can do whatever he wants. And he did a great job.
I mean, I don't think it's left ambiguous. It's awesome. It's even better in the books. I think that's a big point of the story.
I love the book.
I think that this story hinges on us knowing for a certain. I don't think it's left to be like ambiguous. Am I taking that the wrong way? Is that what you're insinuating? I get what you're talking about with we obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think that was like his main point, was to definitely show us, because it's kind of frowned upon. But I mean, George does what he wants, and he did right. Exactly what you just said was beautiful, because he wrote something that could only exist in his imagination. And HBO's like, hey, can we buy it? He's like, who do you got? They're like, these two guys that did Troy, the worst X-Men's movie ever. And
they did Troy?
They were on Troy. They did both of them, like I said, resumes together. I feel like George met these guys and had lunch.
Troy was good.
It's writers I know from it, the Insecurity and stuff like that. I think that he was like, hey, let's see if these two guys, we think we can take the Unadaptable. He's like, who's John's parents? They're like, Jorah Mormont. He's like, you got it. So yeah.
Can I throw a shout out to anyone who's likes Game of Thrones real quick? You said Troy. If there's a show on Netflix, it's called The Fall of Troy or Fall of the City of Troy. It's not Game of Thrones at all, but it was really enjoyable. 10 episodes. If you're bored, I would check it out. It was fun.
Is it good? It got really bad. I'm sorry, because I just took the reviews. It got like the worst of reviews.
I've never really watched a review or read a review in my life. I just watch stuff and have an opinion. I'll always say this to people in the comment section. I was voted most easily amused in my high school superlative, so maybe it sucks. I freaking loved it though, because it takes a story and it went different routes with it. Like Achilles, he looks different and he does different things. I don't know. I loved it. Yeah, I would say I loved it. I wouldn't say it's A. I'd say it's
Kev, what's the show again? What is the name of the show?
It's called Troy, Fall of a City. It's it's the same stories. Troy and Greece and
the Iliad.
Troy. Greece and what was another place?
Can you put that down in the chat? Because
it's the what is it called? The Trojan horse.
Yeah, it's the Iliad. It's the battle of the Trojans against the Greeks. It's where this,
but it's different. They go a different path to the.
I think I looked at it and I'm really attached to that story. You know, and I love the line in the movie where even it's Brad Pitt or whatever, he says lions don't make pacts with men. It's just so badass.
Ooh.
I always wanted to say that to a guy.
Who did you say that to, Hector?
When I was, yeah, when he wanted, he's like, let's make a vow that will, you know, bring the bodies back. He's like, lions don't make pacts with men. Prepare yourself. When I'm negotiating, when I was doing my weddings, you know, for DJing, I always wanted to be like, okay, sign on. I'm like, lions don't make pacts with men. They're like, Jesus, they're not comfortable with this guy anymore.
Cersei says a line like that in the book. She says like lions don't make deals with like deer. That's not the line, but yeah, it's just something like that.
Like they just marry them, okay, which is a deal. Yeah, but no, she said something like that. Yeah, she. And again,
she says. I think she says wolves. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking sheep. I don't know why I'm thinking sheep.
Because that's what we would say in our lives, but no, she used one of the. I think she said wolves because of Starks or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's just about you know, bringing it in house, you know, which isn't going too well for her. But yeah, you know,
sheep. I mean, Johnny B. Crazy says sheep. Yeah.
There you go, Johnny B. Yeah, I mean, thank you everybody for coming. I think we'll do some questions and all that. I mean, I guess it really lies with if you want to believe, which I do, and I really do think they've done a good job of this trope of the hero's journey and your reluctant hero or your, you know, good-willed, you know, warrior it has been subverted already. And it doesn't need to have a twist, because I think a lot of times we think a regular twist would be like, you know, like Jon wins it, but then Jon turns bad. They're like, oh, I subverted it. It's like, no, you just did something really fucking like quick and really not with any finesse. That it's really rough turn there, and it didn't make sense. But I think that it doesn't work. You can't take the character too far away from what he is right now. You know, so how do you subvert this that much? It's already been subverted for the most part. I mean, I think you just need empathy for the White Walkers, which I'm afraid the show thinks that one scene is they're like nailed it.
I think that you take it away in a way, just like the Lord of the Rings. Like Jon's not going to be the one; he's going to be fodder. And Sam just like, see, you know how everyone always says like Sam is like Samuel Ganji, and he's technically the hero or whatever, like Sam to Frodo. But I never looked for a reason as to say like, how is Sam going to be the hero? But it just makes sense when you look at what he's building. Dragonglass, healing, like violence is a disease. Like Sam's going to heal the dude, but they're not going to, like, Bran's not going to pin him down mentally, and like the Nike's going to freak out and shake. They're not going to be able to physically get him down. It's got to be Jon hanging in there, taking a mortal wound, and then Sam finishing it, saving the day. Sam the Slayer. And you got to imagine Sam's like a huge part about Sam's story arc is healing. When Jon in the book sends him down to the Citadel, Sam freaks out, like especially when you listen to audiobooks and Roy Dotrice, just some peace, Roy Dotrice, my man. But Sam's like, blah, 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 blah. Like he's freaking out. He does not want to be a healer. And in the show, we see he does overcome that. So is that the end of his whole arc about healing, that he healed Jorah? Probably not. Because Jorah's not even going to get grayscale in the books, probably. I think the whole point is that we're setting up Sam the Slayer to heal.
But I think that see, I like that, but I disagree, because I think that because you shouldn't have, again, war is bad. That's the big thing with like Arya. Like we have to realize that like they handle their character bad. Like the character, the whole point is that she loses completely. She does maintain that, you know, starkness to her, but she loses everything. They all lose a little. No, she's a serial killer. In the book, she is as well, but they don't try to portray her as, you know, like a hero. But heroes are not the ones that, you know, are on the battlefield. Like Sam is a hero because he does heal, and he will heal. Yeah, it shouldn't be the whole STD, you know, grayscale. That can be like his big surgery. But yes, I think that Sam will bring knowledge to the Citadel. Again, this is about opening your eyes and accepting. I mean, again, I'm saying it very confidently. I'm not. Yeah. That's just my view. I think that when I've heard somebody saying, it made me mad. They're a smart person that I respect. That Sansa, you know, it makes sense for her to die because, you know, what is she going to do? She can't defend herself. Another person was like, yeah, I never even thought about it like that. It's like that goes against this. She's learned to survive in other ways, and they have not handled Sansa that well. But I think Sansa has a big role to play. It would not do this story justice if you had Arya survive and Sansa die, because Arya is good with her sword. People that are good with their swords are not the people that should be ruling this kingdom. You know,
Arya in the Arya 1, it notes that Arya kind of like in her head, even though Sansa's like beautiful and she can sew, Arya's like, well, she better not be the head of a house someday because she ain't that good with numbers. Or maybe she actually thinks I'm pretty good with numbers. No one knows that. Arya's good with numbers.
I think that definitely Arya, I and I'm not even joking, has a good chance of marrying Gendry, and Sansa
100%.
And
Say that.
Sansa will never marry, probably to do the whole Elizabeth thing, Elizabeth Tudor, in the Virgin Queen. Even though, I mean, not going to get into it, but you get what I'm saying. And then you will have Arya, you know, subverting the trope and going and getting a little humanity with Gendry, who is like, man, I remember when you thought I was a boy. It's like, yeah, now I married you, boy. And no, I think it was beautiful to think about Arya, you know, like that is nice. And because it fits, because she can still be, okay, you can write strong female characters without swords in their hand. That is not empowerment. The ideal empowered woman doesn't have to, yeah, it's fine that she can fight alongside the men, and damn well a lot of them can, but that's not the way to write it well. You know, Brienne has that covered. You got that covered with her. You don't judge who's empowered by how physically strong they are. That takes away.
Agree with perspective, if I could.
You broke up for a second. What perspective? Sorry.
From women's perspective, like from my perspective, as a girl, I guess.
Did you say agree or disagree? I'm sorry. You know.
First of all, we see Arya saying it as a little girl. Okay. When I was a little girl, I said I'm gonna have this, and that. I may have some of that, but not all of it. Some of the things I'm glad I don't have, because oh my God, if I had all the stuff I wanted at 8. Yeah, I would not be happy right now. So people change, first of all.
Huge.
Yeah, just because you wanted something at that age doesn't mean that you're set. Nobody's mind is set at that age. I mean, I'm saying nobody, obviously, statistically, nobody's head is set at that age. It's good to have that drive and to be driven by whatever you are. That's very good, because you're already stable at that point. However, like when she's older, it would be, I mean, she's still doing it because she's older and she's still for it. But there's a reason, because she was that was her survival tactic. And she was lucky enough to have that in the beginning to continue having it. And then that made her not die, basically. But then later on,
she did die. I mean, figuratively.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But then later on, when she is older, she kept saying, "No, I won't have this. I'm gonna be, you know, I'll never marry." What if the whole duty thing was that it changed? Basically, she discovered that no, that's not all I am. I can be more. I don't have to be the one, you know, the one who always fights. Why can't I have both? I can be this. I can be a badass, and I can have love in my life. Excuse me.
So you think she's
her home so fiercely if she doesn't want to make a home of it? And that doesn't mean make a family. People don't share me. I can already get. He says she's got to have babies. No, I'm not for kids. I'm actually anti-kids.
No, I'm just saying that there are choices, and not everybody has to have like a linear thing, only one thing. She may decide later on that I want this, but I also want that, and one doesn't exclude the other, I don't think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And why write a one-dimensional character? I mean,
yeah.
And no, George is like, do what you got to do, guys, or it's not going to be pretty. He's like, I know, I read your resume. But you know, they're Deadpooling it up, but in not the Deadpool we see now, the Origins Deadpool. Perfect. So I think we have to look at the aspect of Arya, you know, coming home and then embracing home, and how she chooses to embrace home, and how Sansa chooses to embrace it. And somebody, a very well-intended person put on some social media yesterday about how could you be with somebody for the rest of your life in marriage, and they put this whole beautiful thing about you're not married to the same person. At 21, my wife was beautiful, you know, mother. At 25, she was a college student.
It's awesome.
You know, so you're not married. And I thought, man, that is beautiful. And then I thought about my relationships, and I got sad because they weren't like that. But yeah, I think what you're saying too, LMR, is, I mean, is why write one-dimensional characters? Like, she's the one that's good with the sword. That's the one that's got the mouth. Get the gab, get her out of anything. John's the warrior. No, you know, you got that's the trope, that's the whole 7. And the 7 make a community. You know, you can't have one without the 7. 7 are needed to build. You know, you need builders. You need this. And again, how many people died for Robb Stark? How many people died for Ned?
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? This is the whole thing. They're dragging them back. They're like, yeah, remember the other war? They're like, what about the Blackfire stuff? Like, they have been at perpetual war for there's only been, I think, 13 years at one point in the last 100 years. I mean, think about Tywin Lannister's been a part of 5 wars. And granted, his wars go smooth for him because he kills people at weddings. But, you know, I mean, just think about it. Like, he was a squire with the Mad King and the Blackfire, the Penny, War of the 5 Penny Kings, or not the 5, War of the Penny Kings. It's not always 5. War of the Five Penny King.
It was the War of Five Penny Kings, no?
Maybe, hopefully. I just didn't want
No, it definitely was, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry, the Nine Penny Kings.
yeah, it was more. Yeah,
Nine Penny Kings.
See, when you look at the 9 pennies, I can see fighting over that. No, I get what it's about, but like the Blackfish as well, same amount. You know, you count the War of the Kings. Yeah, 5 wars they've been a part of. Imagine the people that were in World War I, World War II in Korea, and then one that was in Vietnam as well.
Oh, that would suck.
Life of a warrior, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do when there's no more wars to fight? That's the thing. I don't know. As far as it, I guess I don't believe that there's one way to take a prophecy. I think it's supposed to be left ambiguous, and that's to probably help it come true if it's good. You have a better chance. Because how do you know? I'm not saying that. Obviously, if everything I said was
sorry, I'm just making noises.
What I do, you know, I mean, obviously, but I just think that it's meant to left up in the air, and I think George Haley hinted. He's almost just said it, like, hey, some things are just going to be the way they are. You know
I think, don't you think goes back to what Elmar said like, in the very beginning? It's about you can't take them literally, but has any prophecy not come true? I think every prophecy comes true.
But you can make them come true. Are they coming through because the prophecy, or are people fulfilling prophecy? Rhaegar, look at his whole process. He was a bookworm, and then as soon as he figured out that he needed to be a warrior, it wasn't natural, it wasn't organic. And what was his need for this prophecy? Was it a genuine feeling of goodwill, or needing to be, we don't know. We're led to believe that he was an interesting character. He had compassion, but he was also moody and stuff like that. I guess that's where Jon gets it from. Man, put those two in a room. That's a conversation, right? But yeah, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to take it. I think that the history repeats itself, but it's like, I mean, what about Beric Dondarrion in the books? How many other people are resurrected? I think they just get a few people up and spread it around enough, and it's even interpreted throughout different cultures. You know what I mean? It becomes entwined in the DNA of the people, and I think they just make it happen, and it gives them hope. But there are prophecies that are not advantageous for the people, like the Walkers coming back, and I guess, you know, but that's a thing they should maybe pay more attention to.
So Kev, you're saying because I wasn't sure if you're getting it correctly, because Justin said one thing, but then you said that you don't believe in prophecies, or no, you do believe, right?
Yeah,
Kev?
I mean, because I
believe in prophecies.
As of right now, suddenly I changed. Like I used to think, like you know, they say things like even Melisandre. Granted, I should never have listened to her in the first place. She looks at Jon Snow. I think she's got one chapter. I don't even think it was her chapter, but she's like, what would be the point of prophecies if you couldn't change the future? But she's totally wrong, because it's not, prophecies aren't some, like, I personally don't believe there's some God-given thing like, all right, this is what you got to do, because if you don't do it, the world's done. I think all prophecies are written down versions of shadow visions, whether it's through the flames or through weirwood.net. It's just shadow visions, which are very metaphorical. Like, again, Bran was the winged, like Jojen saw a wolf with wings that was on a chain inside Winterfell. Like, that's a really hard prophecy to interpret, you know? But it was Bran. Bran was in Winterfell, and there was trouble coming. He had to get out of there and go north to save the world. So it's like, I think every prophecy does in fact come true. It's just that the way George has set up this world, like you can't go back and change the past, but you can go back. You can be part of the past, right? So if you can have a clear vision of the future in a world with what's it called, a fixed timeline is that what you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. If you can have a clear vision of the future, then you could absolutely change the future. But you don't. You have just shadow visions of the future, which means, a closed loop. So we can exist within a closed loop because the future is shadows that people can't interpret. So it's like they try their best. Sometimes they screw up, and it does always end up playing out. It's just it doesn't play out the way people expect it to, and in the process, people die.
So a follow up to that for both of you too. So the prophecies, there was a question before, I forgot who said it or asked it, about gods. Are there gods? So do you think it has to do with gods or with magic, or are gods magic, or is there magic and gods, or just magic and people are, or maybe gifts, not even magic? We call it magic, things that we cannot explain. And then that goes for any culture that is less, I don't know, civilized or has more knowledge. We call it, if we can explain it, or, back then they called it magic. And people have visions right now. I'm not saying they do or they don't, but do we call it magic? What do you think?
Well, what's the difference between, what's the difference between a magical occurrence and a religious occurrence is all subjective up to the person that's interpreting it, because it depends on what their beliefs are. I mean, if you are not a believer in Christianity, you heard that story about resurrection, you're gonna say that's magic. That's offensive for Christians, because they're like, no, you're demeaning my beliefs. So I don't. I guess it is. An act of God isn't considered magic for some reason. I guess magic is more the occult or whatever, but it's all it's all up to whatever you want to make yourself. We write our own stories, and then the other people write stories, and we fight over whose stories are the best. I've always argued that we write these religions and sets of rules out for ourselves that are not advantageous. We never follow them. And it's such a strict rule. Like, think about fasting for one. And I'm going to get off topic here, but I was thinking about this the other day. Like, let's just think about it. You're going to fast, and I know there's some benefits to it. So you want to, show your God how much you care about them by depleting the body that he gave you. So what if my car hypothetically wanted to show me how much he believed in me by depleting himself of fuel? And I'm like, well, now you're taking away what makes you a car. You know what I mean? You're taking substance away from you. It's all about this like punishment and all this like nonsensical stuff to prove like allegiance and show your faith and all this, and testing yourself using these biblical stories. I'm not saying it's all bad, but these odd premises that we set for ourselves. It's like we're almost ashamed of our own humanity, and I'm not saying I'm not an atheist or anything. Like, I have my own beliefs, I just think that some of the rules we set up are not advantageous. And I mean, look at the drown gods. They drown themselves. Like, that's our thing. That's our thing. Look at Patchface. He's like, I'm their prophet. You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, how is this happening? Yeah. And then that's magic. They're like, well, that's because you're a believer of the seven. He's like, I'll fucking cut your head off. You shut up. They're like, then you blow up your freaking Vatican. They're like, yeah, we're cool with it though. That
is interesting. Yeah.
I hear the whole. I think that prophecies it makes a big difference if they're fulfilled, through people just trying to make something happen, or natural events. And it's all, who's to say? Like, what about the House of the Undying, the visions that Dany has, all this stuff of her passing the throne? Is that her passing the throne, and it has to go up north to Jon? Is that passing Jon? Is that the North taking the throne from them? I mean, these things, it works so many different ways. Like Johnny Be Crazy and Johnny Be Crazy. I do like saying that. I'm just telling you guys, Johnny Be Crazy, people.
That's good.
I mean, it's like a horoscope. It's like, you're going to have a problem at work, and the next day, granted, my email didn't start up right away. I'm like, that's technically an issue. She's a genius. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's very vague, and I think it's never, I think me and Kev's disagreement on this is Kev thinks and believes, and there's plenty of proof of this, that you can go through like these prophecies, and there are like,
thanks,
my argument would be like, what if, like, okay, so Dany got the 3 eggs on her wedding day, so did somebody know, because of the 3 heads of the dragon whole thing, and they had 8 eggs to give her, and she could have an army of dragons right now, but to try to fulfill that prophecy, they only gave her 3, thus not making it as giving her as much of a chance to try to fulfill some fucking phony baloney. There's all these different variables to fill in, and there's all these different ways in which it could work, like with him putting down Dawn there, so it's the comet. Look at all the many different ways they interpret the comet when it comes up. The return of dragons, the return of magic. Somebody says, hey, that's just a comet. You know what I mean? That's my take on it. I don't think that it's meant for us to interpret, but I said that there's no way Arya was getting out of last season alive, but I was very.
Say that again. You know, wait, what? It's going to get out of last season alive?
I said there was no way Arya was going to make it out of last season alive, and I really stuck to my guns on that like an idiot. Oh my god, she made it out, and I was like, oh shit, I look like an asshole. So
what do you think was going to happen to her?
I thought that a lot of stuff was going to come to head, that she was going to go there, and because her and Sansa, remember before this last season, didn't have a great relationship. And she was going to go there, and realistically, if you kill the Lord Paramount of the Vale that's sitting there, that there's going to be issues. Like, you can't just come in the Winterfell and start chopping people up. I thought there was going to be some problems, and they actually alluded to this in a very shitty storyline. But I saw that there was going to be, and I saw it as a nice little moral compromise. Our paradox for Brienne, because she's sworn to both of them. And they kind of played with the idea, but I think they have spite for me. So.
To this day, I thought that she's gonna kill those guards.
I did too. I don't know if I believe it anymore. I thought she did.
Yeah.
Do you still believe it or no?
I believe. You know what? I will stop believing it the minute I see them walking next to Arya.
So you're still believing it that she killed them?
No,
I'm back. You just pulled me
basically,
back on. I'm back on the train.
no, basically, I know why people say that she shouldn't have because she already was over it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
However, we don't know if she's over it. I don't think she's still over it. I think she needs a little bit more of a push to be over it. I think she's gonna need Gendry to be over it.
What are her and Gendry gonna do?
I'm not saying that they're gonna be together, but I think she needs to find humanity. And maybe if her family won't give her that, I think her best friend will give her that.
Can they go back to the Azor Ahai prophecy, which this all started with? Can they sing a secret song?
I think they can. I think there's nothing against it. She doesn't know it. We don't know it. We don't know what's going to happen. She doesn't know what's going to happen. And I think that's the exciting part about it. What if there's going to be another song? What if she's going to be this badass? But she's a badass right now.
Love. Can they fall?
Yeah,
like, sing a song?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, the song. I think there's nothing against it. And I know I'm off. Go ahead.
Baratheon, he's like a Targ, right? Baratheon has Valyrian blood.
Yeah, there's some bastard cousins, but yeah.
Yeah, but I never clicked. Their baby will be a Song of Ice and Fire too.
Sansa and Jon make a lot of sense thematically. Well, not thematically, but as far as George's original blueprint, because it makes it a little less weird if you take Arya out of the spot. But if you're looking for like feudal succession, that'd be the way to go, technically, especially if Dany dies. For him to marry Sansa, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I know there are a lot of haters. I am not a hater of that. I don't want to say I'm a lover of all theories, but we did a couple streams. So we're going to be doing one more actually this Sunday with Fira Hexa about it, about Jon and all that. But we did stream about Sansa and Jon, and Fira Hexa makes a good point, which is an awesome video, and she sold me on it. I know I live in.
You believe it now?
I believe in Sansa. I believe in Sansa and Jon. I believe in that.
Both?
Sorry?
Books or show or both?
Both.
Books or show or both? You think that they are going to end up together or just fall in love and tragedy?
No, I think it's going to be political. But I don't think there's anything wrong with political turning into something more, especially with the hints that we've been getting on the show, like the little looks, the little kiss, the snow falling. Who gives their sister such a long look? Like, I would never give a look like that to my brother. I mean, I love my brother, but dude, I would never look at him like that.
What do you mean? What scene are you talking about? You're talking about I've only watched season 8.
When he's leaving Winterfell, when Jon is leaving Winterfell, and he's looking at his sister, and just the little looks that they give each other, or even the chemistry on screen when they're having the little talk when she's eating, the soup, and they're just chatting. And I know it's like sister, but again, I'm off the topic, but Jon makes more sense to me romantically with Sansa than with Dany. For many reasons. I don't want to take over the stream with it, but there's, if you want to watch it, there's a great video that Fira Hexa made on it. She sold me, and I'm pretty sure she may sell you on it as well, but I'm still open to other options. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I see it happening. It makes sense to me politically because they're going to unite the North and the South, I guess, Targaryens and Starks. That's a good union. People.
How do we get to that point? Is that happening before Jon fights the Night King or after?
That I didn't think much about. I think, I mean, they need to, I guess, do it before because they need to unite together to fight together. So it would make sense for it to happen before they fight.
He has to unite with Sansa before he fights the Night King?
No. The whole country has to be united.
So why would they get married prior to fighting the Night King?
That's why I said I haven't thought about that much. But I think the impending fight is going to be so soon, and there's no time for a wedding. I don't think. There's nothing else. They're already there. They're already there. So
you don't need more. From a political point of view, I totally agree. If this was not a time of desperate measures and like the worst death at your door, but I mean, Dany. I mean, come on, Ygritte has already died. Dany's probably gonna die. I don't see them. It doesn't make sense.
And he loves redheads. He loves redheads.
No, I was gonna bring that up. But with all the love that you guys talk about, doesn't it kind of disparage the love that he has with others? Now you're going total like stone cold hard on it. I mean, politically, you're right. If I was trying to, align like, Normandy with, like Cornshire, or something like back in the day, I'll be like, okay, let's make this match. Because yes, politically it makes sense. But first off, you don't need to get any marriages. See, this war's happening whether they like it or
Oh
not.
yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, I think that it takes away from Jon and Dany's. You know, I think that's his final loss, and I think that Sansa, you know, she wanted to be a princess. You need to subvert it. So I think that she is going to choose to be nobody's princess. That she is going to be, you know, because
you're against it, Justin. You're for Dany and Jon, right? I just want to make it. Okay. You're for Dany and Jon.
I'm for it because that's like, again, this is what I'm thinking is like plausible, like how they would go story wise, because we have to, especially show. Come on, you really think viewers would? People hate Sansa. I love her, but people hate her. A lot of people hate her.
People still hate her.
What about you, Kevin?
Oh yeah.
What about you, Kev?
What
about you, Kev? Like, are you for Sansa and Jon or for Dany and Jon? I'm just wondering.
Neither. I mean,
if there has to be a union, like, what do you think?
I've never even spent like any time imagining Jon talking about like the throne or the future. Like, I just can't imagine him not being in a fight with the Night King, and I can't imagine him surviving that fight. Yeah, no, I literally that's how concrete I am, and it's not proof at all. Like, I have nothing to say that Jon's going to die.
6 episodes is proof that that's probably not going to. I mean, they have 6 episodes. They're like, hey, you have 40. Okay, let's think. How many books are out? 5 out of 7, right?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, we have like over 30% of that story to tell.
Oh,
okay.
Here,
we don't have time in those 6 episodes to throw in another like love connect. Even though they did Jon and Dan, look how much they were.
Isn't there a wedding every season? Isn't there a wedding every season?
Yeah, but that's Jon and Dany. I mean, that's already. I mean, it's not like we don't think that's happening. Like, they were like, she's like, I can't have babies. He's like, I don't know. I think you might be able to, because they brought it up 8 times because they forgot to bring it up any other time. It was very heavy-handed in the Dragon Pits. I mean, I'm just saying, I like what you're saying, but I mean, it's 6 episodes. They have to deal with this whole shit that's going on with the Night King, which I think will be a minor inconvenience and a misunderstanding.
What about like a quick ceremony, like Rhaegar and what's her name, or Lyanna had like a quick one?
No point for it though. There's no point, because that takes away the more. It would be, the fans would think that you have to think about the casual fan that's not thinking about feudal succession. Okay,
yeah,
they're gonna be like, you're spitting in the face of Daenerys Stormborn and all that other. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't happening. We are no longer the target market. We are the marketers for this show. They're not trying to appease us. We every tweet we send out, every video we do is marketing, and then they still try to take some of that money, and then they make sure the show for the people we convince to watch it. They're like, oh yeah, that Daenerys Tamra died. Did you hear about it? Her dragons died too. That was sad. What about that Jim? Jim is there, and Ashley, his little sister, is marrying that Billy. And then, you know, but the Night King came, and they fought, and then they kind of went away. I think that it was kind of a nice ending, kind of left it up, you know, for interpretation over there in Wenderly or Westeros. You know, I mean, there's the people that have the maps on the wall. There's a metaphor, or a metaphor for, like, you know, analogy. Sorry, for people that are fans of the show. There's people that have the map, like I do, and then there's people that have the map and they can tell you exactly where everything is on that map. And then there's people that can draw that map, and then there's people that watch the show, go about their lives, and do their thing. And then those, you know, that's why it's so successful. I mean, I would not take back this. I love this fandom. You know what I mean? Like, we are into it. But I'm just saying, the show, especially, we cannot. I think you as a writer, you know, it sounds nice. You know what I mean? But come on, how are they going to fit that in?
No, it's impossible. You're right in the way that in the books it's different, but in the show, I'm still not sure how to. I'm still not sure how I'm gonna take it. As I mean, okay, we have movies, regular movie, just any other movie. We can see a story in 1 hour, 1.5. Like, they can tell us a story, but I think it's gonna be such a huge twist, like such a 180 from episodes versus feature length.
You think so?
I think it's going to be a little bit better. I'm not complaining.
You're saying that they're going to feel significantly longer than a 60-minute?
They promised that last season. It was like
I'm hoping they're going to put good info, because you can put a lot in 1.5 hours, for example. You can put a lot in there. But if you make it really, really good, if you really edit your stuff, it is possible. Yeah.
You have Dan. Okay. First scene is arriving in Wintertown for sure. Watchers on the Wall reported on that, so I made a video, because that's how you make successful YouTube videos, is do what Watchers on the Wall does. And then they will go there. Arya will reunite with Jon. there will be that moment with Arya and Dany where the two strong women meet and they both kind of look each other up and down, and it'll be that kind of funny moment. I guarantee this happens. And then once they go in the Winterfell, very shortly after that, there will be attacked. I think that Sansa will have a role to play as far as, getting the people out of Wintertown and stuff like that. The Golden Company will come. They will not fight for Cersei. You'll have the whole Night King probably solved by the third episode, at least the battles, and then the fallout. You have maybe 2 episodes of fallout. So maybe the 4th episode, all warfare is done, and you have 2 episodes of fallout and maybe skirmishes between like whatever's left. You have the taking of King's Landing if there's anything left and stuff like that. That's the pacing for that, is you can flesh out what's happening, all the action sequences, and you can get all the character driven moments. I think the Golden Company, you're introducing a whole new aspect with the Golden Company, so I think that we're going to have Jorah meet them, a former member, and I think they're going to turn pretty quick to the cause.
Did he say did he say in the show that he was part of them? I think he did, right?
Yeah, he said he fought
somewhere in Marine. Yeah.
And then we're going to hear Dario was going to come back. How's Marine doing? He's like, I'm the guy that said fuck Marine and fuck the people of the Marine, and you said, hey, take care of Marine. It's like, it's not doing well. I don't know why you're surprised. Poor leadership. But I think that it's going to be fairly straightforward. But I do think that we'll get these action scenes quicker. That, you know what I mean? It'll probably be, I think we'll have 2 episodes of pretty much fallout, if that makes sense. That's my opinion. I don't think we have much more time because I think we're also going to have quite a bit of the future, the spring, the dream of
You think so?
There's going to be a baby. They said it 8 times in an episode. There's no way to justify that.
I mean, there could be a little one cooking in the oven. Oh, I think she's gonna die. I hate it. Like everyone, I read a comment today. People hate the concept of her dying in childbirth, but there's a line in the books that foreshadows it, and I don't want it, but I do see it happening.
That would be an awful death for her. That would be.
I'd rather the show ended with her pregnant. That's it.
Yeah. Maybe Tyrion's walking with, maybe both Jon and Dany die, and Tyrion is, like the surrogate father, and he's walking with her down the steps, and it looks like they're having like a government that's not complete dumpster fire. And she goes, well, am I an orphan? He's like, and he says something about remembering his dad, and she's like, is my dad a bastard? And he tells her a little something about remembering who she is and all this. But
how could Dany die? That's what scares me, is that like, it's hard to envision her dying on the battlefield. I just like trying to visualize it, because she kicks ass when she's on the battlefield. You know what I mean? So the only way I see her dying is in child's birth, and that is so sad.
Wait, but it's also very common.
Yeah, it is common. Plus, it would be such a huge turn. I mean, she is so close yet so far away from it, from attaining what she wants, her happiness, and it's something so simple. And I'm saying simple, roughly simple as part of life. She's giving life, and she's giving her life for the new life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah, because that's what's been happening. And Jason Momoa has been on set in Dublin way too much for him not to be in some flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been there nonstop.
I don't want to know this. I just got excited, dude. I don't want to know this stuff.
Oh, they're filming a movie. It's called Jason Momoa.
I don't follow like casting and stuff.
It's all about him trying to stay away from the Game of Thrones people.
Okay.
It's gonna be a corker, buddy. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I think that makes sense for her to have her flashback scenes, because that's Dany's. That's their thing. I think that in the final. Now, this is not a spoiler. This was released by HBO. They said the final scene of Dany, the final frame that she shoots, is just her hand. I predict that's her reaching out towards that throne, and she moves back and she goes and chooses and takes whatever one of the, she goes towards the Drogo. That's how I see it happening. And then Jon's left, and he's a bitter bastard, and things aren't so good. But yeah, somebody brought up the wedding thing and they're drawing it out. I hope they do like a whole episode just picking the dress people. I think that's the way this could go. With the midwife. Sorry, go ahead.
A question for you, both of you. So, in the beginning, I know we're talking about like end game and all that, or prophecy, and for Jon, but at the end, like when everything, when the dust settles, when everything,
that's trademark.
Yeah, that's for you. That's for you. So when everything is done and over, somebody maybe will be writing it. At first, I thought it's gonna be Sam, but then I had this other thought saying, no, it may not be Sam. If anything will be written, I want it to be Tyrion. because that dude, books are his power, words are his power, brain is his power. He may not have a tongue, but he may have hands. Plus, he's been everywhere with everybody in every front, and he's been preaching to all the leaders and whispering in their ears. So I am for it. I'm for Tyrion to write stuff if there's anything to be written. What are your thoughts about it? If there's going to be anything written, and who's going to write it?
I think that, I mean, again, I'm a firm believer in the Citadel, especially in the books, will have to, stop. I mean, in the show, it's very prevalent too, like they're not even addressing the walkers. When Sam's in there right before he leaves, they say, isn't that the boy that his dad died, after Tarly dies? And they're like, yeah, we don't want to bring it. Like, they just, the one guy's writing a book about Robert's Rebellion when the shit's going down. So they need to get their shit together. I think it's beautiful what you just said, because he cherishes books so much and knows the power of them. So for him to then hone more than just the resource, but to create the resource would be beautiful. But he also needs to get his winery. He also they need to give, Bronn the twins, because, whoever you work for, remember, I'll double it. So they got to pay off all those moments. We can be like, I remember that line.
That would be the worst decision ever, giving a sellsword the twins, the best, like the most critical piece of infrastructure for wars, giving it to someone who makes choices by money. That would be the worst decision ever.
Wow.
Unless, hey, like I said, you show me chivalry, they give you Bronn. They show you honor, you get a beheading. You know, I mean, the version of the tropes. But Tyrion better than Frey.
Tyrion looked at Bronn in season 2, it's 2 or 3, and he goes, Bronn, season 2, if I asked you to kill those children, would you do it? And he goes, nah. I'd ask how much.
Yeah, I would first ask how much. Yeah.
Business first, pleasure. Yeah. You're right. Kill him.
That's a dirty dude. I love Bronn, but man, that's nasty.
Yeah, but I mean, and then Varys has to pay off his whole phobia from magic and all that. And people like Varys shouldn't be needed anymore, because they should be saying things out loud. Like Germany, they built that whole building. Their government building has all the glass. It's transparent. No more iron throne. It's like, man, there's power here. They're like, oh, so you have a king, that kind of sucks. But his chair's not so good. Like, well, that's better. So that, that equals it out. Heavy lays the crown type of deal. There needs to be transparency. Things that need to be paid. Whatever year it is, what is it, 300? What year is it currently in the Game of Thrones?
Like 303, 4, something like that, right?
Drama change. Yes, we can. This time, it's far more likely. Yes, we can. It'll happen. Make Westeros great again is not a good idea. The wall didn't work. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to try to stick to its major themes. And it's hard to say what's going to happen to Jon, because you have to really decide whether it's been subverted or not. I do believe. I think doing too hard of a twist on it, like you see him and then he turns around and he's got a twirly mustache and he's like, yeah, I got rid of the White Walkers. Good. Now I can put my devious plan into action. You know what I mean? Kills Dany during childbirth, does a whole bunch of terrible things.
Oh my God.
You can't do things like, I mean, what could they do to subvert him anymore? What could happen? He dies. He already did that. I guess that's, I mean,
he loses. He doesn't beat the Night King. He loses.
Oh my God. Well, can I ask you a question again? Both of you, please. What would you not want to see happen to Jon? And what would you like to happen? Okay, there are 3 different things. What you would not want to happen to Jon, what you would want to happen, and what do you think the show will actually do, if there's any difference?
Can we hear do you have answers to those or no?
I'm just wondering about you.
Have you thought about them or no?
I haven't. I'm just. All
right. Say it again. What we would.
Okay. What do you want to happen? Show? Yeah. No, like for you, like, okay, what would be your ideal ending for Jon? What you would want to happen? The other part of it is what you would hate to have happen. Like you don't want it to happen at all. Versus like what they will actually do based on what they were doing before.
Wait, what was the third one? I didn't follow that.
Like, because there's a difference between what you want, for example, what you don't want, and what the showrunners are actually doing, because their ideas are different from ours. Not necessarily that you would not want it, but this is not your favorite choice. The third choice is kind of like, this is what they're doing, but I'm like not for it, not against it.
Well, I don't know
what I really want.
I don't watch spoilers. I don't know what they're doing.
Are totally my jam. Number one, how dare you? We're right in line. God.
High five.
Okay, I don't want a Dexter-esque ending. That means a nomadic, like Jon just goes into the wilderness because he lost everything he loved. So he's like, I live a life of peace, but it's just, and then you see him and he's like, you know, cutting some wood somewhere with a big beard. That's stupid. I don't like that.
That's a pro or con for you. That's bad or good.
That's an option you have with this character because, you know, he doesn't want to fight anymore. So he goes and lives a peaceful existence because he can't. John is in a situation where he cannot live like a normal person. So his only choice is to be king, probably, or be absolutely no one, meaning go live north of the wall or something like that. I would like to see John go in potentially restart. I know it might sound stupid, but the Night's Watch, even though there's not a need for it for the walkers per se in this hypothetical situation, but because the Night's Watch weren't political, they were the only like actual like even like bit of a democracy this world has. So it'd be the right way to go with their type of thinking and start it up and just say people need protecting, you know. Maybe it's just not from the monsters we created this time or some stupid line. Like I just saw that. So I mean, I will get in the writer's room with 15 other people that write dialogue and we'll get something better. But you know, like for him to go back and just go back to something that he could dive into, like and have find honor in his beginnings or something like that. I don't want to see him be king. I don't want him to see him be nobody. I need a middle ground. The Night's Watch, I'm probably going to hate this in a minute. I already hate it a little bit when I'm saying it. It's like, I don't know. There's something to it, you know, like to going back to your roots and just being a ranger and not looking out for the boogeyman, but just looking out for the people. You know, and being a king, a guy that could be king, but turns it down to everybody. He's not exiled. He's going there because it's the right thing to do. We don't send all of our peasants to go fight our wars. You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's a tough story to wrap. It's hard to wrap up. Ending anything is hard.
What about you, Kev?
I would love for him to heroically be fodder for the Night King and let Sam stab him from the back, you know what I mean? And just like, that's how I see it going down. And I just think it's beautiful. I would hate for him to marry Cersei. I just would hate that.
Did you say marry Cersei?
Yeah. Some people think he'll marry Cersei.
Oh God.
You know, like feudalism, like a lot. You know? I would hate to see it. I would hate to see him. I mean, I'm like a really big high fantasy nerd, so I'm like, you know, if it's Dris Do'Urden, I'd expect Dris Do'Urden to take out the Night King, but Jon Snow's not Dris Do'Urden. You know, he's Jon Snow. If Jon Snow beats the Night King in a sword fight, I would like, I'll love it, and they'll make it look really cool. And the actor's really good at performing stunts, so it would look gnarly, and I will love it. But right now, I would hate for that to happen because it just doesn't make sense. Night King's way too OP. You got to do something special. You know, it's got to either be, if Jon takes him out, it has to be because of teamwork, not a one-on-one duel. But a one-on-one duel would be pretty cool. What you know, like people say a trial by combat kind of thing. Imagine that. But how does he win that? I don't know.
Well, there's no pact between lions and men. But I think that how about how great this? He's talking to a bastard of the North, and they call him, you know, like king, whatever. So they call him a Targaryen or a Stark. And he just says something along the lines of, "I'm a Snow, just like you."
Ooh, that's another thing I would hate. If he changes his name, I'll hate it. Like so, what you just said. I would love that. Where like someone calls him Stark or Targaryen, and he's like, "I'm Jon Snow." That'd be cool.
I'm a Snow.
What about combining the sigils? Does the house does it have to survive, or can it adapt? Can it change? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd rather how Stark dies. What's the point? Like all these houses, and everyone lives for the name of their house. That's so dumb. You should just live for life. And if you want to have kids, live for your kids. If you don't have kids, live for other people's kids. But it's like, who cares about a name? It's just a name.
Yeah, my point too. I mean, I don't care. I mean, everybody says the Stark name and this has to survive. So many houses are already dead. They're like dead.
It's sad. I feel bad now.
How many people do you put to death to make sure your name never dies is the question.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all, you know, these people need to be shown some fucking like humanity. So Jon the bastard, the regulator, you know, he needs to stick to, like, I think you guys both said this before, you know, he needs to not take the seat of power. And I want the Jaime thing to happen with Sansa. But yeah, he needs to
Jaime and Sansa. What was that again?
The whole thing with Jaime holding it for Sansa. I think.
That's gnarly. Major props for that. That's cool.
And then you go to then their child after, and that would follow Elizabeth's type of deal too. You know, she never had an heir, so Sansa's not going to have an heir. So that means Dany and Jon's kid, which pretty sure is happening, could, you know, be the next in line. I
mean, I'm sure she would be a better mother than than she can expect in general if she were to be a mother. She's grown,
Yeah, it's either
meaning
her.
like a stepmother or whatever you call it.
Sansa or Dany?
I'm saying Sansa. If let's say if Dany doesn't survive, I'm not saying she will.
And
She won't.
Sansa would take the baby?
I think she's at this point she would be mature enough to handle that stuff, even if it weren't her baby.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
do
somebody said in
you
the
guys know
chat-
Mellow? Sorry.
really quick in the chat, somebody said Jamie's gonna die. I totally agree, and he's gonna say right before he dies a quippy line of "Give me a good clean death any day," and we're gonna be like, "Oh, I remember that from season 1. It was the second episode, and we'll love that." Yeah,
Who said that?
They just said he's gonna die. I totally agree. He's gonna die.
It's my favorite character right now. I hope he doesn't die.
For that, I think that's a different stream. But Kev, what are your thoughts about Jamie on that throne?
Well, there's so much. All right, if I have to say my heart is 150% Jamie and Brienne on the throne. My head would say Tyrion and Sansa, but
yeah,
if there's a throne,
if
because
there's a throne,
there is a chance that I sway all the time. There's a lot of poetry with Jamie getting the throne. I mean, he went to the Kingsguard. Well, and then obviously you can't even inherit your own land, let alone the throne. He, like you said, Justin, he sat on the throne and he's like, I don't freaking want this. Cersei asked him to be the hand. Cersei asked the very first scene we see of Jamie in the show is Cersei saying maybe you should be hand. And he's like, are you kidding me? That's too much work. In the books, he denies her twice after Tywin dies. Like the dude just does not want the power. So it would be so poetic if he did kill the Mad King, but now he kills Cersei and he saves everyone, half the realm, or like more than half the realm, according to the show. And then they just make him be king. He's a people's champ. It would be poetic, but I don't know. Maybe he blows up a lot of the dead army inside King's Landing. It goes down.
The only reason that he went there in the first place, as a page, and then to become a Kingsguard is because of Cersei was going to marry Rhaegar before it got broken up, and Cersei convinced. He lived because of what Cersei coaxed him into doing everything. So his whole reason for existing there was for Cersei. So I think that the most Jamie's ever going to live is the few moments he may have after she's dead. So
why can't he die in the arms of like the one he loves? Why can't he do that when he's like old and wrinkly with Brienne? You know what I mean?
Not good TV. Remember just think about an old Brienne. That ain't great. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean that would be nice, but I think that's Tormund's babe. I think he's been clear.
No way. There's nothing between. I love Tormund. There's nothing there though.
There's a difference. I mean, for Brienne, like I always say, every woman wants to be looked at like whatever minions look at their banana, right? But minions love bananas, and apparently Tormund is looking at Brienne like Minion is looking at bananas. They love them, they admire them, they worship them. So Jamie learned how to appreciate her through interacting with her. So he is completely emotionally tied to Brienne because he discovered her. He discovered her or his admiration for her, her courage, her everything that's good about her, and everything that's that she has as a flaw. And that's how you discover love. I think you look at your good side and bad side, and I think that they have a big greater connection, Jamie and Brienne, versus Tormund, because Tormund is just looking at her. She's gorgeous, she is powerful, and this is the woman I want. So it's kind of shallow but still powerful, whereas Jamie and Brienne, they opened up to each other, and it's a completely different level, I think.
Yeah, he saw.
Again, only my opinion.
No, but he saw what he was supposed to be in somebody that they cannot be what she really is. The one person that is ruled against being what she is, the only person that's actually a true knight. You know what I mean? And I think one really quick funny thing here, it's really not that funny, but okay, somebody needs a hand to the king, right? Jamie takes off his hand and throws it to him. He's like, oh, you need a hand? They're like, oh, Jamie,
my God,
such a good one. And he throws the hand. He's like, there you go, suckers. And he leaves. And he just dies of like cancer 3 years later. But yeah. But I think that would be a nice little joke. And I think they should end on that with like, you know what I mean? I think we'll wrap it up fairly quick. So those jokes will start coming more and more. No, I love having, I love the discussion. Like I said, I just want to talk more about it. And it's interesting, because I love to have different perspectives. If you watched after the dust or before the dust settles, different perspectives. That's what makes interesting panels.
Mhm.
And like Elmar, you're a writer, which you've actually written a book. I've only written some short plays that I keep around. So that's very that's something to be proud of, and that's something that you have knowledge in, and I love it. I love the way you look at it, and you look at it in an intelligent way. And Kev, like we don't agree on like how strict of a way these prophecies really go, but I think that's the conversation they want you to have. That's the trick to it. It's not unclear. It is unclear, but that's the point. It's a point to have conversation, to open up a dialogue about
100%.
predetermination versus free will and stuff. I mean, it really comes down to that. Because if prophecy are fulfilled just for the sake of them being fulfilled by the gods, then you don't have free will. You know what I mean? So there's all those arguments that can be, they can make you actually talk about things that you're talking about a TV show, and then you might have found God. I don't know, whatever that means to you. So, I mean, I can't love it enough. For all you people that stick around and chat, we try to make these interesting. I am going to be doing on Sunday, of course, before the dust settles, right after Westworld. This is going to be a really interesting episode. Only one more after this Sunday. We're on episode 9 out of 10. And I will have W. Axel Foley on with me from Westworld Theorycast, as long as my regular co-host, Hex Dogma. I'll also be doing the pre-show with In Deep Geek, and I believe Hex is our third as well. And when we're on the In Deep Geek thing, next Friday, we will be doing a stream, me, Kevin, and Robert from In Deep Geek, and we will be talking about the different types of warriors in Westeros. So we'll be talking about what separates Southern Knights from, the Northern Warriors, Northern Lords, and the Ironborn, and what type of what type of values do they hold? What do they stand for? How does where they come from, dictate how they fight? There's different fighting styles where it's kind of going to be a bro stream to a point, but we're also going to talk about their values and what they're supposed to be, because I always say, where are all the good Southern Knights gone? Where are all the heroes of the Kingsguard? It's interesting to me. So I want to talk about how we see knighthood in the warrior being portrayed in a Game of Thrones. So that's going to be on at the same time. And the lovely Living My Rhapsody, I said it twice. So will be with me for probably our first after Westworld ends and before the dust still settles, because that title still holds up. Don't say it doesn't. I'll be pissed. I'll delete the comment.
I love that title. I love it.
Thank you. And you want to know what? If I want to do an after show, it would be called After the Dust Settles, and there'd be one maybe in between where I'd say where the dust is kind of settled, but there's still some in the air. We're gonna have you on, and we're gonna mix it up, and the Westworld's gonna stick around for as long as we give fucks, and that varies, but I don't try to stretch things. We move on. I want to talk Peaky Blinders. I love talking about different stuff. I'm not just a one channel chump. I'm just our one genre chump. Unless you guys want me to be, whatever you guys want. So no, Kevin, I can't. Why don't you popped your cherry? And I told you this would be like training wheels with make it easy. You come on. All these people, you got Kevin to come on. I'm like, I feel like I am the straightest guy that's been happy to get a guy to do something for me. I'm like, I feel like I got the bell of the ball with you. People have been trying to get a hold of this guy. You are a well sought out creator. I talked to a few people like, oh, Kevin's coming on. I've been messaging him. I'm like, well.
I'm friends with so many people, but I just don't like I don't like technology, believe it or not. I like trees and like wind and stars.
So Kev, how did you like this chat? How did you like being here?
This is fun. The only problem is I couldn't, like, when I watch streams and people are talking, I'm like, oh, this would be cool. I'll be like talking and looking at the chat. Like Scotty said something earlier. I looked at it. I gave Scotty a split second. Linda sent to me a message earlier like, I cannot multitask. I was brand new. I pretty much sucked at it.
Well,
but I love talking to you guys. I apologize to everyone else who was here that I didn't acknowledge, or I can't.
It comes with time, seriously. Especially if you're a guest. Like right now, I'm a guest, and I'm just having a blast chatting with people.
You've been keeping us in line, which thank God, thank you, because
no. Yeah, I'm a confirmed host. Apparently, I'm saying like a host. I'm saying Westworld type of thing. So I'm on my narrative right now where I'm having a blast, and I love chatting. So if you're a guest, Kev, it's so much easier and it's so much fun. Unless meaning. You can be in a chat, you can be chatting away, and when you're listening, when I'm looking. So it's great. And I'm so happy that we can do this together here right now. It's fun.
Yeah, and you better not bounce on me because we're going to do some more. And next week, especially with Robert, we'll make sure to we'll get it a little bit more structured with some talking points and stuff like that. I just honestly, with this topic, I really did want to have it just an open forum, you know. And again, thank you, LMR, for, you know, every once in a while you got to be like, shut up, Justin, and we're moving on. You know, so, you know, you did a fantastic job. So if I had money to hire you as a permanent host, I would.
You could not afford me.
I can't pay her. You hear that? I need to buy this person.
What's the name of the Sansa actress? What's her name?
That is Sophie Turner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
So do you think Sophie Turner and Kit Harington are going to have like a naked secret song scene?
Oh my god!
Right? Because that's what you're saying. I can't see that.
You're telling me that I think they're going to have a scene like that?
Well, if you say they're going to fall in love, then
but not everything has to be shown. We don't have to be shown. We can.
Hopefully not. I feel weird with actors and actresses.
I don't want to. Truthfully, I don't want to see a scene like they had with Ygritte, with Jon and Sansa. Yeah. Please don't get. I don't want to see that. No, I don't want to see it on screen. But if there's a way of develop, politically it makes sense, and I see little clues and all that over there. But that would be kind of odd for me. Let's just say this way, a little bit odd.
I think.
But I love the whole idea. I mean, just logically, we just saw Dany, his aunt, right, just one step over in generation doing it on the boat, and they were doing it, right, his aunt and Jon, whereas Sansa is one step over and down, right? So she's further away from him.
If you're rationalizing incest, you don't need to. It's approved by the you know, the major people watching it. So the vast amount of people, they don't care.
They're like, they were not together. Plus, they were not close at all. They were not like
cousins.
Yeah, they were cousins. Like for like even Plus, truthfully, when they were growing up, they were never close together. They were always separate. They did not even talk to each other. So they're like hello, like we see each other like once a year for Christmas or something.
Remember, anybody that's watching it might just be taking us for any type of experts on
Oh, Linda, I saw your comment. Oh, sorry. See that the first time I read the messages, I just start talking, even though you're talking.
I just want to say really quick, biology or anything like that, like we're not. So like, don't, if you're looking for advice on if you should, appropriate with your cousin, don't. It's a lot of bad things that come from that. It's not right. Health issues and stuff like that. We're saying that socially it might be accepted in some southern parts. But yeah, this is a fictional thing. But yeah, again, I think we need to think about not what's good for the political system, about what the political system needs to do. But yeah, kids, don't screw your cousins unless you do.
No, we're talking about fantasy. We're talking books. We're just talking books. A question. I see Kev kind of looking in the chat because I've been in the chat and I'm having a blast. Justin, would it be okay for Kev to give a couple shout outs?
Yeah, you guys can do it. Like this mi casa, your casa, or however that goes. This is your
Who
place.
do you see, Kev? Who do you want to say hi to?
What I'm thinking about doing is I might go back and read the comments and make a video strictly for these people. And just give them a shout out there and give actually, because you guys can tell now. I mean, granted, I was at the the Spain versus Portugal game prior to this live stream, so I wasn't necessarily. I was just hanging out, juggling the soccer ball, and maybe that's it. And so I wasn't completely normal, but I am very much different than the way I would come across on a scripted. I'm a nutcase. I really am. So I would like to take my time and do some research and get some answers for these guys. I don't know. I have bad eyes though, so it's hard for me to see right now.
But if you see any names you recognize, you wanna say hi to them on the stream. If you see any names that pop up.
Well, I know pretty much everyone here. You want me to go down and list everyone in this?
Sure, I'll do a few. Chrissy of Old Stones, thank you for being a moderator. Broke Black Man, I love you to death, but you have a real problem with your pop addiction, so I will not, enable you. So, but thank you for moderating, and you're one of the best people I've ever met. It makes me feel like it's odd because you're too good of a person. Let's see, we got oh God, I cannot say your name. Change it to Iron Throne, so I say it. Ion Tron. I love you, dude. I think you just want. It's fair enough. He supports me. He supports me enough to subject me to it every single. I never get it right. He's been one of the people that since the beginning. Johnny Be Crazy, who for all you guys that don't, Johnny Be Crazy for real. You know what I mean? Like that's actually true. Living my Rhapsody. Not aware of this person. No.
Elamar, you gave a shout out earlier. Isn't Pure Hexa? That's the
Pure Hexa. That's the lady.
Yeah.
She has
clicked on.
it's always a good idea, like when you're done, and for anybody who's watching, for you, for example, if you're watching it, you can always click after it airs. When you click on their icon, you can sub to their channel. Like if you go over it to the right, there are 3 dots. You can click on it. It's going to open a window, and you can just go to their channel and sub to her. A lot of great creators are here, like you said. And Johnny Be Crazy, we do theories. And if you're a Hexer, we're doing a stream this Sunday about Political John.
Amanda Kane, thank you. She's from the Amino community. Thank you for coming. Amanda Kane, yeah, she's the one that set up the YouTube content. I knew smoke screen before, but I felt uncomfortable even bringing it up with them, and she actually insisted upon it. So we did it, and we had a really good time.
Hey, can I give a shout out to Eduardo Blanco, my man? Sorry.
No, you're good. OTDA. And also, Game of Theories, Marie. Your old email you sent me about Jon Snow, for some reason, every time I open up my email and it's way down there, like it always brings me to it, and I think it's like a sign that I should steal your idea because it's a really good article you wrote. No, I think you already did your video. It's really smart stuff. It was so annoying to me. I don't know why it keeps doing it. I was like, fine, I'll read it. And because it's been like 5 months since you sent it to me. I did read it originally, and I'd forgotten about it. I want to know if you did your video on that. You sent it to me. It was about John. I think it's from Storm of Swords, I believe. I'll bring it up. No, Marie from Game of Theories is one of the brightest people, especially when it comes to book stuff, and one of the sweetest ladies too. We did a failed project of mine. Which one, you may ask, because there's a few. For the bite-sized history.
And she has the best humor ever. Oh my God, we streamed with her a couple of times. That lady cracks me up. We go crazy, both of us, so it's fun.
Yeah, she did some good work. We were talking about doing some Winston Churchill stuff when they attacked the French, and I had this whole thing, but it just the project fell through, so it didn't get greenlit. She's a great lady though. All these people. Johnny, I just made you some art the other day in 2 minutes.
Oh my God!
By the way,
can I say this one? So Mackenzie Burns, it didn't click until now because someone called her Kenzie. That's my niece's name. I love Kenzie. I'm like, wait, who's Kenzie? Oh, Mackenzie. It didn't click that my niece's name is Mackenzie. What a cool name, Kenzie.
And I think I call her that too. We are at Hangouts, Kemi's Hangouts. That's where we all hang out. So a lot of good friends here. Yep.
Yeah, well, some people I don't care for. I'm joking. No, all these people are great. No, everybody here is fantastic, and they get that type of sense of humor, so they're good. And if you don't, and you're watching on the replay, we don't care for you anyways. No, I love you guys because everybody that's in this chat, they're not the comment warriors. They're actual people that are in the fandom, and they've been in the fandom, and they're very knowledgeable. You can learn from these people. You ain't got to have a YouTube channel to be smart. Actually, probably smarter people don't get one. Reassessing this whole situation.
Or some people have one, but they different avatars, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who's a secret YouTuber?
Incognito.
Yeah, I got a channel that's way more successful. I'm just really modest. I tone it down. I tone down my intelligence. But yeah, thank you guys so much again. And make sure to join us. We got some exciting streams coming in. This is kind of the warm up for me as well. The other one will be a little bit more tight knit. If not over in LMR, Robert will be there, and Robert, he's a great mind and a great organizer as well. So he keeps me on my game. And Kevin, I'm so happy that we've broken you in, and I hope that you become obsessed with live streaming. Because guess what's great?
It is addicting.
What was the word? What'd you say?
Not editing. It's fantastic.
Not editing, because the minute you edit, you lose your comments. So you don't want to edit your live video, because if you edit it, all the comments are gone.
Yeah, and I don't. I was saying I said to both of you guys often, I don't ever plan on doing live streams on my own channel. I would love to join other people's, unless I do a fundraiser. I'm gonna. Yeah. Like I said, I want to do something for PKD soon, hopefully.
Do you want to mention that now, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, it's just there's something called polycystic kidney disease. It sucks. Adults and kids die off of it. I would want to save a kid's life or something if we could, but that's just one of many things that are worth fighting for. You know what I mean? So hopefully it's a start to many topics like that. But I have to figure out how to make it worth it for everybody. So we'll work on that, and then we'll do it.
Well, that's fantastic. I know Chris and all them did that stream for the American Cross, and they raised a shit ton of money.
That's as soon as I heard that, I was like, holy crap, is that possible? Like we could save a life just by working together? Like 10,000 people doing $1 each. Like, man, we could save a life. Like that's
I think
easy
it was
decision.
like $25,000, if not more. They raised.
That's crazy.
Really quick for Marie. Sorry. I just want to get this out for her. It's about your Jon Snow from Darkness to Life. and this is all about his resurrection, and this is beautiful. She sent me this email, 2000 July 14th, 2017, and it always just opens. It's like a problem with my Gmail to it, and I'm like, man. I'm like, it's just fate or something. So maybe I got to see if you did your video on this. But this is really well. I don't want to give away your secrets here, but you gave them to me. Everybody remember, this is my idea. No, I wouldn't do that. But no, I could. Yeah, to collaborate with such insightful people and such clever people and such good people on top of it, which is in more times than often, more important. It is incredible, especially for somebody, me and LMR, we're smaller, and you got people like Kev who are look at how good of a guy he is. Some people like that, they get 50,000 and they're pricks. They're time not to be a good person anymore.
You think I'm a good person?
I do. You've tricked me so far. No, you definitely are, dude, and everybody likes you. So no,
the moment you question yourself, that shows that you're good.
Yeah.
The minute
I feel like an ass. Oh, I feel like an ass because I've been like, I don't know. I'm like really hyper today because I started out. I started out buzzed, and then like this is just. I don't know. I don't talk to like living humans very often. I don't get out of the house much. So this is a lot of fun.
We're hosts, Kevin. You're fine. We're not human. We're hosts.
Yeah, and nothing makes a good live stream
it's
like
also
somebody that's incredibly tired or something. Yeah.
Well, I do go to bed at 8 to 9 o'clock at night too. So I'm like, I'm probably weird because of that too. Like this is past technically when I went to bed. Well, not last night. I was up late, but you guys, yeah.
Well, you took time out of your schedule. We are scheduled for next week. Living My Rhapsody. You are scheduled for Before the Dust Settles. For the after show for the season. We just have our other co-hosts for the remainder of the two. I don't like to do three's company. Three's not company. Three's just enough company. Knock on my door. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited. I love collaborating with people, and this was fun. Maybe a little bit less organized than I would have wanted it, but I guess I was supposed to do that, so that's not me.
It's fun.
Yeah, but make sure to subscribe, guys. Do that. Subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe. Share it like it's the plague, and just have no shame and love it and embrace it. And we love you guys, no matter what I say ever. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Living My Rhapsody. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Come back on Sunday and make sure to check out all these people's beautiful videos. Their Westworld streams are the shit too. And Kevin's videos always make me feel really bad about my editing. So go and check out In My Voice. Oh, everything. Totally. So yeah, you kill it, brother. I can't wait to do some more streams with you. Thank you guys again. Make sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon.